Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Makes Premier Media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movies, TV and online content and help you answer the question, what's going to win the fan favourite movie award at this year's Oscars? Nothing good, that's for sure. I'm your host Ashley Hobley, join me today, Dylan Blight.
Or, I don't care what wins. Why are they adding dumb MTV Movie Awards level fan vote shit?
Because ratings. They think if they give people a chance to give out an award, that they'll, if they have some personal stakes in the show, then they'll.
Was Logan Paul going to come out and give it to the winner?
Oh God, I hope not. Listen, we all know it's going to be Spider-Man.
Yes.
So, Tom Holland, Zendaya, and Jacob Batalon should just come out and present it to themselves. It's like, oh, what a surprise. We're here at the Oscars. Yay.
Whoa. Marvel won an Oscar, finally.
Yeah. On today's show, we'll be talking about Sports Channel Watch History, a little bit of film news, we're giving some thumbs to the trailers, and talking about this week's top 3. Kick things off this week, Uncharted, the long in-development movie, now starring, speaking of the devil, Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, directed by Ruben Fleischer, came out. We've already got a spoiler podcast up on the What Do You Want to Watch feed, featuring us two, plus Buddy Watson from Radio Watson. But Dylan, for people who haven't watched the film yet, what do you think of Uncharted?
I was a bit avo. I enjoyed watching it, but I could have, without doing this podcast, I probably would have forgot I already watched it. That's the thing. It's not a very good adaptation, and it's a mediocre movie if it wasn't based on the game. So I don't really know who's going to be super impressed with it, but yeah, I mean, it's watchable. Out of 10?
It's watchable out of 10. That's our new review scale. I've enjoyed it. I gave it a 7 in my review over at explosion.com. It's fine. I mean, it's not Uncharted, but it is a fun action adventure movie. I think Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg do bring some charm to the roles. They're just not Nathan Drake and Sully. That's the only issue with it. So, yeah, if you watched it, check out our spoiler cast, or check out my review at explosion.com if you're interested, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it again on Platinum Explosion tomorrow. You find all good podcast feeds. Dylan, you checked out another movie in the cinema. Talk to us about Death in the Nile. Death on the Nile? Death in the Nile?
What? It's a piece of shit. Whatever it's called, this movie, it's terrible. It's worse than Uncharted. So if you're wondering which movie recently I watched in the cinema that I'd rather watch again, it's Uncharted. Death on the Nile, I believe, is the movie. It's got a bunch of anti-vaxxers and cannibals in it and stuff. It's very exciting. But yeah, I mean, with even disregarding the cast, which is hard because they try to ignore Armie Hammer's in this. If you watch all the trailers, he's in the background, even though in the movie he is the main, one of the main characters, which is so funny that it's just ignored in pretty much all the marketing for this, and they just focus on Gal Gadot and whatever, and they're like, oh, it's just about her and this. It's like, no, Armie Hammer's one of the main characters, main two characters. She's people don't know, the plot of the movie is about Gal Gadot marrying Armie Hammer's character, and then people start dying on the ship, and then bloody whatever his name is, Alphonse Cuarón comes in. Whatever his name is, I don't know the character. Spy, detective dude, whatever. He comes in and he's like, yeah, save the day. It's just so boring. It is so bland. I think it seems to go forever and ever and never end. And not to mention, I just hate the way it was shot and done. I think all of the special effects in this really hurt the movie. It just makes it seem like I think between all of the conversations, as much as they try and add a bit of pizzazz to make the movie somewhat exciting. I think between all of the conversations and how bad the special effects look, it looks like it's a B grade, C grade afternoon melodrama that you'd find on that same channel that does that TV show that's been running for like 50 years, whatever that one's called.
Doctor Who.
You know the one, like the melodrama one, like the longest running one?
Neighbours?
The American one?
No.
No.
American. Young and the Restless?
Yeah.
Bold and
Yeah,
Beautiful.
Young and Restless. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. This seems like this would be on that channel to a degree in mid-afternoon. But like every time they have a shot of the boat on the Nile, it looks like someone forgot to finish the special effects. Like, it looks that bad.
Which is crazy because the movie's been delayed.
So long.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it just looks so bad. And there's other times too. And I just found it really distracting. Just really weird. But other than that, all the characters aren't super unlikable. I didn't find it very engaging at all. I actually fell asleep in this movie in the cinema for a couple minutes and I think I woke back up. So maybe I was tired that day, but also the movie wasn't engaging enough to keep me awake. So I nodded off. A character died and I woke back up. And so I may have missed a character's death.
So your opinion is null and void is what you're saying.
I think like the action was building up. They're like, oh shit. And I think I nodded off for like a whole 2 minutes, woke back up and they're like, oh no, the body's been found. I was like, oh, right. What happened there? It's just a
weird hard
snooze,
cut.
you know?
Weird jump cut.
I was like, the editing in this movie is terrible. Where's that scene? But no, I just don't like it's hard to explain. It's one of those movies where I just feel like everything about it's wrong. Like it just looks bad. The acting is not like it's not even terrible. It's just so void of anything. I just feel the script is just way too long and try hard. And admittedly, I thought the same about the first one. I thought the first one was bad. I think the second one's worse. So I don't know. If you like the first one, maybe you'll like this one. But nah, these Kenneth Branagh movies, like nothing against him. I like other stuff he does, but this franchise, no, I just think it's bad. I just think it's really bad.
All right. So Death and Nile in cinemas, don't watch it. That's what you're saying.
No, fuck that.
What you should watch instead is the other Kenneth Branagh movie that's currently in cinemas, Belfast, of course, the Academy Award nominated film. Following,
how's he do this? One fucking terrible. Like this is terrible, and then it's like Academy Award nominated. Anyway, so.
I mean, it happens, you know. Yeah. I'm sure there's many a person who's gotten nominated for a Razzie one year and then nominated for Academy Award the next. Belfast, set in Belfast, England. Belfast Island, sorry. During the Troubles of 1969, follows a young boy named Buddy, who's, you know, just 9 years old, living his life, having a good old time, and then suddenly a giant riot kind of happens in his street. Those who don't know, the Troubles is pretty much a religious conflict between Protestants and Catholics throughout Ireland. Yeah, it just follows this street has been kind of closed off, and like there's all these is mostly a Catholic street. Buddy's family is Protestant. No, it's mostly a Protestant street. Buddy's family is Catholic. And it's just him kind of trying to deal with that, and his family trying to deal with that. His dad, played by Jamie Dornan, is mostly working over in England, and only comes home only every now and then. And it's pretty much like kind of this weird slice of life movie where it just follows probably like this 4 or 5 months period of his life while this tension is going on around them, and you know, kind of coming of age, growing up kind of stuff. I enjoyed it. I think, you know, it's obviously been hyped up a fair bit with all this talk of nominations and how great it is. It's probably not my favorite of the Oscar nomination movies I've watched. But it is quite good. It's very nicely shot, very well acted. I don't think Judi Dench is... I don't understand how she got nominated. It's crazy to me. She's fine. She's a fun comedic relief in certain elements and like that kind of thing, but I don't know what happened there. Yeah, it's an interesting, enjoyable story about a family, kind of dealing with trying to live their lives normally as possible while in the middle of this conflict that's bubbling behind the surface. So yeah, Belfast. I believe it's still playing in cinemas. I think it's coming to VOD pretty soon, from what I've seen. I think I saw that somewhere. So, I also went out and watched another black and white movie. Come on, directed by Mike Mills, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Gabby Hoffman, and Woody Norman. I was pretty interested in seeing this after we did our episode, spoiler cast for 20th Century Women, our first Mike Mills film, which we both very much liked. I really enjoyed this one as well. It is very much feels in a similar vein. You can definitely tell it's like there's certain elements and parts of it that feel like there's a lot of essay reading and quoting of stories and that kind of stuff throughout the movie and that kind of thing. It follows Joaquin Phoenix, who is working for I guess like an NPR kind of place, like doing radio, and he's doing a story about interviewing children all over the country. But it just so happened to be like the first year anniversary of his mother's death. So he rings his sister for the first time in like a year. The first time that they've talked. And she needs to go to San Francisco to take care of her ex-husband, I want to say. It's never quite made clear. Who's having mental issues. So she needs someone to come and take care of her son. And Joaquin Phoenix's character agrees to come look after him. And the story kind of follows their relationship, and it takes his mother has to be over in San Francisco for a longer period of time than expected. So while they live in LA, he brings him over to New York, and then he has to go to New Orleans. It's like this kind of thing. It's just kind of him suddenly realizing the responsibility of looking after a child. And there's a lot of these phone conversations between Joaquin Phoenix and his sister and that kind of stuff. So talking about them, I think Woody Norman is really great in this really eccentric, this very odd child who likes to role play certain things and thinks in a very different way to what you would imagine most children to be thinking, but that's probably how they actually are. I found it really fascinating, riveting, and lots of interesting things brought up and discussed and that kind of stuff. So yeah, come on. Currently playing in cinemas. Alright, Dylan, you checked out a few episodes of Pam and Tommy, the Disney, the Star, I guess, the Hulu series set around the Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee sex tape scandal.
Yeah, it's so funny that you watch this while opening the Disney Plus app, I'll tell you. I know it's on Star, which, they're like, oh, it's a separate category, but the fact I have to open the Disney Plus app, see the Disney logo, and then come into this show. Yeah.
It's like the banner is Pam and Tommy, and then just switches over. Yeah. It's like some animated property.
Yeah. It's so weird. I'm enjoying it. I definitely, I'm planning on catching up and finishing the rest of it. I'll say the first episode is really good. The second I didn't love as much. And then the third one's like, I think I watched the third one, didn't I? No, maybe I only got two when I can't remember. Maybe I did watch three. Whatever. Anyway, maybe I started it and I got distracted. Anyway, I've watched 2 or 3 episodes. And I feel like the second one was the weakest one. So the first episode introduces you to Seth Rogen playing Rand. Who's the dude who steals the sex tape and everything. So it leads up to why and how he does it. A lot of this is based on what Tommy Lee said in the book, what this dude said in an interview since, and all this sort of stuff. But the one thing everyone agrees upon is the reason the dude does it is because he's renovating Tommy Lee's house, and Tommy Lee is like not paying up front for whatever reason, even though he's like a millionaire or whatever. And then he keeps like asking, like fucking around and making life hard, which is one thing, and like being like the episode starts with him finishing this bed, and then Tommy Lee comes in, and the second Sebastian Stan walks in as Tommy Lee in this this episode, and he like walks into the scene in a G, nothing but a G string, and he's like, "What's up, dudes?" Like, and all like it is great. Like Sebastian Stan is like having a time of his life, I think, playing Tommy Lee in this because it's something else. But he's like, "Oh, just move the bed over here," and all this sort of stuff. And he wants a water bed, so then like Rand goes out and gets the water bed, and then he's like, "Oh, it's going to cost all this more money." And then eventually he tries to get the money off Tommy Lee. It's like, "Hey man, like I just need the money because," and it shows him going home and he can't afford to pay his bills and everything like this, and he's like, TV's getting cut off, so he's like he needs the money, and he confronts Tommy Lee. He's like, "I need you to like sort of pay me up front or like something because I need the money." And then Tommy Lee like accuses him of trying to rip him off, and he fires him and all this sort of stuff. So then to get him back, then this dude, the Rand character, or this person, I guess it's a real life thing, decides he's going to break in and steal just enough, to get what he considers he's deserved. And if he gets a little bit extra on top, then that's going to be Tommy Lee deserved it. So he breaks in and steals this safe, and he gets some money and whatever else. And in that, he discovers a tape to which he takes to his porn star running dude, which is played by Nick Offerman, because apparently Rand used to be a porn star back in the day, and they have a nice photoshopped VHS tape with Seth Rogen like in a porn video, which is quite funny. And he's like, that's when they discover the sex tapes. Then episode 2 sort of rewinds time and does an entire episode's about how Pam and Tommy met, which it's like an hour, and I feel like it's just a bit too long. Like, to a degree, I'm like, okay, let's get there. There's some funny bits in it, some really outrageous bits. I feel like at this stage I can sort of spoil the main thing because I've seen it all over Twitter. Well, at least I have, and seen people talk about it. But I mean, skip ahead, 30 seconds if you don't hear me spoil a bit, like a quick bit from that episode. But there's a scene where Tommy Lee is first sleeps with Pam, and then he's like standing in the bathroom talking to his penis, and it like cuts backwards and forwards from like Tommy Lee like looking down, and then cuts to this, and it's obviously like a mechanical like puppetry penis or whatever because it's like moving up and down, but like it's like, "No, dude, like you want to fuck all these other girls?" He's like, "No, I think this is the one." And his penis is like flopping up and down, and be like, "No, like what about her? We want to fuck her." And like it's just like it gets wild. So, and there's been a lot of talk about like the nudity in this, which is a lot of it's not even like technically nudity, I guess, because like Sebastian Stan has like this prosthetic penis, and then Lily James has prosthetic breasts and stuff. So like it's technically neither of them actually nude, but like it's nude. I don't know. It's weird. Like it's a weird sort of. I mean, I'm sure it's probably their asses, like I guess you see, maybe. Like, but they're
technically wearing makeup.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw an interview of Lily James where she was sort of not wanting to do it to a degree because she was like, even though she knows it's not her, she still felt a little bit uncomfortable about like people, like more or less she implied like jerking off to her still, even though it's not actually her. Like she just thought that was weird, but it's a weird sort of, I guess, thing to be like, it's her face, even though like, again, her face as prosthetics and like hair and whatever. Like it's interesting. But yeah, a couple episodes in, I'm liking it. There's like nothing mind-blowing to the story. I'm interested to see what direction they go, because so far it's like Tommy Lee's an asshole. Maybe I can see them, and then they're going sort of like maybe people didn't talk enough about how like sort of invasion of privacy this was. Like, but also this Rand dude, even though he does the wrong thing, like he was also like set on this path because Tommy Lee sent him. I don't know. It's like tackling a few different angles, but it's definitely entertaining and it's funny. And I'm, as much as Tommy Lee comes off as an arsehole in this, and I mean, by all accounts, he is an arsehole, even as a fan of Motley Crue. I can say that, but Sebastian Stan's having a fucking bowl in this role, I reckon. So, I'm really enjoying it for that part. So yeah, it's good.
All right. Speaking of things that are on Disney Plus, I watched Marvel's Hit Monkey. So this is an animated series that follows the Marvel character Hit Monkey. Kicks things off with Jason Sudeikis playing Bryce Fowler, who is a massive hitman. He gets tasked with the job to go to Japan and take out a major political opponent. Kills him, runs away, is double-crossed by the people who wants to pay him. takes them all out, gets shot, and kind of runs away into the mountains to kind of recover. He comes across these this herd of what are they? Japanese macaws, I think. Macao? The Japanese snow monkeys. And there's one in particular that just takes a general dislike to him. And, they're at odds for a bit. Eventually, the people who double-crossed him track him down and murder him as well as the rest of the herd of snow monkeys. And then leaving our hero snow monkey for dead. But then Bryce comes to this snow monkey as a ghost spirit and helps him, tells him in order to, him to move on to the afterlife, the hit monkey needs to take out the people who double-crossed him. So the entire season follows on from that, and with this monkey training up to become a massive killer. So yeah, it's super enjoyable. The relationships are surprisingly strong. It's interesting hearing Jason Sudeikis, obviously going from Ted Lasso to this hitman who's a bit of a dick and is kind of his character goes in interesting directions as well. There's lots of other interesting cameos. Lady Bullseye is a major character towards the end. And it ties into like certain elements of the Marvel world and that kind of stuff, but it's all set in Japan. Although they all speak English, so I mean, you know how it is. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's well animated, lots of cool action sequences, very violent and bloody and that kind of stuff. So, definitely watch it on Disney Plus, where, all the children are. I definitely recommend it. Dylan, you've got like a stack of reviews up on the website. Let's kick things off with the Amazon Prime original I Want You Back.
This was quite good. I can't remember what I gave it. 8, maybe?
I think so.
I don't remember. 7.5, 8, something like that. It stars someone whose name I'm fucking mental blanking on. What's his name? What's the dude's name?
Charlie Day.
That's it. So it stars Charlie Day and Jenny Slate, and they're this. The movie opens with each of them having an awkward breakup where their partners, like, they're out on a date and they think everything's fine. Like, Charlie Day is at like his girlfriend's played by Gina Rodriguez, and Jenny Slate's boyfriend is played by Scott Eastwood, and they're like both having a great time. Then all of a sudden their partners, like Jules, sort of dump them, and then they're having terrible times. And then they work in the same office building, but at like completely different like jobs. And one day, like, Charlie Day's like in there crying or whatever, and she's in there crying. They bump into one another, and it's like, "What are you upset about?" It's like, "Oh, my boyfriend left me." It's like, "Oh, my girlfriend left me." So then they go out drinking and they get really drunk and they have a great time. And then they slowly begin to progress and become sort of best friends. And then they get up this plan where they realize that their partners are like with different people. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to win them back." And to do this, they just don't realize that they actually need us, and they're making these big mistakes, like this sort of shit. And they come up with this plan where Jenny Slate will go to the school where Gina Rodriguez's character works as a art teacher, and she's currently dating a character who's played by Manny Jacinto, who most people would know from
The Good Place.
The Good Place. And he's like this really out there art teacher that's like, like the soul and this, like this sort of stereotypical art teacher, I guess, like over the top sort of thing. But, so she's going to go there and like flirt with him and separate them. And then Charlie Day's plan, because Jenny Slate says that he's not cool enough to ever like get the girl that Scott Eastwood's character's with to fall in love with him because he's not that good enough. So his plan is to just become best friends with Scott Eastwood's character and push him away from her so they can each get back with one another. And of course, hijinks and stuff ensue from there. But I really enjoyed it. I think Charlie Day's great in this. Jane Slate's great in this. Scott Eastwood's like really surprisingly good in this. There's one scene like halfway through the movie where Scott Eastwood and Charlie Day, it's probably my favorite, well, not my favorite, but it was just one of the funniest sequences where they go out drinking and they come across this group of girls, and then they turn out to like be friends with Pete Davidson's like there as well because cameo, I guess. And they're like, oh, come back to this house. And then they're like they're like daring him to like jump off this house into a spa, not the pool. And he's like there. He's like, can I just jump into the pool? It's like, no, jump into the spa. And of course, like the spa's this tiny fucking thing. And a lot of stuff happens there, which is quite funny. But yeah, I think it was a really enjoyable rom-com that has a lot of great scenes and doesn't go in necessarily the stereotypical direction that you may think it goes, and great chemistry between everyone that's there. So yeah, I would suggest, even though Valentine's Day came and gone, I would suggest watching this. It's a lot of fun.
All right. You also checked out the Shudder original film They Live in the Grey.
I can't remember what I gave this, but I didn't love
It's
it that much. 5. So Michelle Kruzik, who is most famous from Hawaii Five-0. She plays this character, Claire, who's a like support service worker. I can't remember the name. Like her job is to investigate these look into families who there's cases of child abuse, and that's like a service worker, that sort of thing. And she gets assigned this case where this girl's like coming to school and she's got bruises and stuff. So the school's like reported it. And so she begins investigating that. And she thinks there's something a bit odd going on there because the parents seem like sort of fine or not fine. And then spooky stuff starts happening around the house. And the reason that she's sort of on board with potentially spooky stuff happening is because she at home has a lot of spooky stuff happening where she seems to be able to see ghosts and stuff like that. And she's dealing with its own trauma where her son died at least several years prior to the film, although you don't know why. And she's sleeping in a cupboard because all these people keep breaking into her house and like attacking her, but they're not people, they're like ghosts and stuff. But the film does a whole like, is she losing her mind? Is it like trauma, like sort of affecting her, all this sort of stuff. I think it has some cool ideas. It just seems like it's like, I feel like it's a 60 minute film that they've stretched out a lot longer. Like it just doesn't feel like it has the content there to fulfill the runtime, or it's like a short film idea that's very thinly being stretched out and just hasn't like sort of filled in the blanks or expanded the characters enough. Like they're these one word things. It's like Claire is a woman who's suffering from this, full stop, and it hasn't then got an expanded enough explanation for the character to sort of help make this movie work. And yeah, a lot of it just drags out for a very, very long time and doesn't really all come together. So yeah, I didn't love this one.
All right. Then you've watched a couple of Blu-ray releases to Umbrella Entertainment's. You watched The Big Boss, Bruce Lee film.
Yeah, so the first massive Bruce Lee film. I hadn't actually seen this one before. This is before he begins screaming at everything and before he gets the nunchucks and everything. That sort of.
This is before Brad Pitt knocked him down.
Yeah, this is before Brad Pitt knocked him down. No, it could have been before. Like he filmed this after Green Hornet, but like that's the thing. Like Bruce Lee was like in these movies, and then he comes to Hollywood and he does Green Hornet, and then he, in an attempt to become a movie star, he goes back overseas, and that's when he starts this reign of sort of what becomes his big martial arts films, where he's the star and like the centerpiece, and this is the start of that. So the plot of this movie is nonsensical. It's like one of those, it's typical martial arts movie where it's like it's there to get you from point A to B so you can have fight scenes and stuff. But I think the other thing compared to other Bruce Lee films in this is that he's playing a character who's like trying to be a pacifist for 3/4 of the movie. So it's other people fighting and him sort of like sitting there watching and obviously disgruntled and wanting to help out and all this sort of stuff. But he like Bruce Lee's character starts working at this ice factory where they cut ice. I don't know what they do with it, but it's run by like a drug lord who's putting like drugs in the ice and hiding it and like killing off people who discover what's happening. And then there's even a scene where he discovers a dead body in the ice. I'm like, how have you not realized this before? It's ice. Like it's fucking, you can see through it. Like, have you not seen the drugs that are in the ice? It's fucking ice. But yeah, ultimately what happens is all these people start getting like taken from his work because they discover what's happening and all this. And Bruce Lee's character has enough and, gets into fights and has a massive fight scene at the end with the big boss, which is the title. But yeah, it's very sort of forgettable. It has a cool fight scene at the end, a couple cool fight scenes in between. But yeah, it's I wouldn't suggest if you're like, man, suggest to me the top 2 Bruce Lee films I should probably go watch, I'd be like, not this one. Let's start with his towards the end of his career. Let's start there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember, I don't know if I ever talked about it or what I want to watch, but I watched the Bruce Lee documentary, Big Water, which is currently on.
That was the one that came out last year?
It's like
wasn't
a 30...
that the sports ESPN one?
Yeah, it's an ESPN one. So yeah. I think it's on Disney Plus. It's also on like KO and Binge, I think, as well. Yeah, quite interesting to see his full life story of like Bruce Lee and like how he broke into Hollywood and like brought martial arts to Hollywood, pretty much. So I would recommend checking that out.
I think I've watched so many Bruce Lee documentaries at this stage. Like, so there was another one on the special features and included on the Blu-ray, which I watched as well because I hadn't watched that before. So I was like, I'll watch it. It's like the full movie just on the special features. Sure. It was okay. Like, it's interesting because it was released the year of his death. So a lot of it is just footage from like the funeral and stuff, which seemed very voyeuristic to a degree. Just like, watching all that happen, I felt like I shouldn't be watching it. Yeah, but it was weird. And then it just sort of just goes through his career. It's like, hey, flashback, he did this and then this and this. It was just more like, I feel like at the time when it released, it was like, hey, he just died. That's like a celebratory sort of thing, like whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've watched, what's the most famous ones? Like the Into the Dragon? No.
Into the Dragon.
Not the actual movie though. There's something else. So there's the one that's like where he's acting. There's a dude that plays in, which is a decent movie. But I thought there was a doco called Enter the Dragon or something else. Or something Be the Dragon or something. I don't know. There's a bunch of Bruce Lee docos. And at this stage, I feel like I've watched more docos on Bruce Lee than anyone else in my life. But I just keep watching him. So yes, I will watch the ESPN one as well.
You also watched Crash, the 1996 film. Directed by... was it? Cronenberg. David Cronenberg.
Not to be confused with the Academy Award winning 2004 film, which is
directed by Paul Haggis.
Yeah. And
nobody's happy about it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's bad.
It's fine.
Bad. No, it's bad.
It's an Academy Award movie.
Yeah.
You talk about Oscar bait.
It's also like on the rewatch, it's like, hey, like I'm probably racist, but I'm trying to prove racism isn't real. Or something. It's like fucking dumb. So 1996 Crash. It's a movie based on a J.G. Ballard novel that David Cronenberg adapted. Stars James Spader, Holly Hunter, and a couple of people I can't remember off the top of my head. But the main plot of it is that it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. It is not a horror movie, I guess you'd assume because it's Cronenberg or whatever. It is a drama that's also driven by pretty much all sex scenes. The movie is primarily sex scenes. It's about this couple, James Spader and who plays his wife? Hold on. Deborah Kara Unger plays his wife, Catherine. Sorry. Well, I assume they're married. Either way, they're a couple. So James Spader and her, and the movie starts with like her having sex against like an aeroplane, but with this other dude. So they're like sort of in this open relationship, but it's more or less like, and then they cut to, and like he's screwing someone and he's a producer at a film set. He's like screwing the assistant in the back, and then they come home and they discuss it. Like the movie more or less, so it's like they're struggling to find like enjoyment in one another. So they've like opened up and they're looking for ways to find it elsewhere. So they're like this sexually explorative couple, I guess. And what ends up happening is James Spader's character is in this car crash, just driving to work or whatever. And he, not like, I mean, it's not a good one, but it's not a terrible one. Like his leg's fucked up or whatever, and he has to put it in like a brace thing or sort of thing around that. But he's fine after the fact. But instead of being terrified to drive or anything like that again, and he's in his car crash with Holly Hunter's character, the first thing he does is like goes and finds the car, and then she's there and they're talking or whatever, and then they start to like sort of blossom, like more or less thinking about the car crash and being around these wrecked vehicles sort of, I guess, turns them on is the easiest way to explain it. So, and then there's a subculture that she leads him to where Elias Koteas plays this character Vaughn, who does this whole show, and it's probably one of the longest scenes in the movie that isn't about sex or sexually explicitive, which is where he's setting up and doing his demonstration where he explains this famous car crash with James Dean and what happened and blah, 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 blah. And then he gets in a car and he gets this other character to get in a car and they pretty much perform the car crash, like full on just crash these cars with one another, and no one dies, but people get hurt. And that's like it's a thrill. It's something they enjoy. And so then he gets into this car crash, like sort of cult, I guess, to a degree is what he becomes involved with. Another character there is played by Rosanna Arquette, and she's also been in a car crash. But they're all people that sort of get off and get thrills from it and whatever else. I mean, there's even a scene, like it's hard to talk about without sounding silly, but I think the reason the movie works is because it is exploring stuff that sort of, I guess, was ahead of its time, like this sort of sexuality beyond just people finding like ass, tits, and dicks attractive to a, which may sound vulgar, but like it's sort of like exploring a weird thing. Like I don't feel like this is a real thing. Like I don't feel like people getting off over car crashes is a real thing, but people do get off over weird things that, well, what some would perceive as weird things, I guess. And I don't know. It's hard to talk about spoilers too much, I guess, but I've done a lot of reading about it. Like I definitely watched it, and it's like, it takes itself super serious, but also seems to exist on another plane. Like the way the characters talk. And this is why I think like David Cronenberg does such a good job with the direction. Cause I feel like this movie in the hands of a not good director, it would just completely fall apart. But he has everyone sort of talking in such a monotone-ish way that it just seems like the movie exists in its own fantasy land. The way it's shot primarily at night, the way there's never cops around when they're like driving these cars like maniacs, like almost like teasing that they're going to crash, but not doing it and sort of getting off on that fact. It's weird. Like it exists in this alternate reality, and all the performances are really, really good. And it's shot beautifully. It looks great on this new Blu-ray release and everything. But I'd never watched it before, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I've been reading a lot of people's thoughts about it since, like features and, you know, all these articles talking about why it was, cause it was famously, I didn't know this until after I've done reading things, but like it was at like Cannes or whatever. I can't remember which one, like one of the main film festivals, and everyone wanted to give it an award, but Francis Ford Coppola was like the running it that year or whatever, the head voter person, and he hated the movie. Apparently, he didn't want to give it any award. So everyone else that was on the board invented an award that year just so they could give Crash something, because he refused to, because he disliked it that much. So like there was, it's got an interesting thing. Like I think maybe it was Martin Scorsese or someone like that. Someone like prolific said it's like one of the best movies the last 10 years, like in the year it came out, and that, you know, like, so it's got an interesting sort of you love it, hate it sort of thing. And it sounds can be like quite full on, obviously, but
sounds like a precursor to Titan.
Yeah, no, I still haven't watched Titan, but because I nearly did the next day, because I was like, maybe I should separate my car sex movies a tiny bit and go into Titan with at least a week break or something like that. Because that finally came out last week or whatever. I could rent it finally, so I'm definitely going to watch Titan soon. But just separating my weird car because I think the thing I watched after, I was like the next day or whatever, I was like, I should watch something a bit lighter, you know, like, and I'll say like it's not ultra stressful and it's not super gory. Like, I don't think there's anything particularly gory in the movie. It's just intense in a different way. And the other thing is like none of the sex scenes, and maybe this is weird to say, but I'd find it strange if anyone watched this and was like, because it has so many sex scenes, it was like, oh yeah, baby, like, like this is a fucking porno. Like it's just the way it's shot and like the way it's just constantly on this weird tether of reality. I don't know. It's just it's a ride. It's interesting. I liked it. I gave it like a 9 or something. I don't know. So.
Yeah, 8.
8, there you go.
Okay. And speaking of 8s, that's what you gave the other film that you watched, Run, Lola, Run.
Yeah. I'd always seen this, and I'd write this in my review. Like I remember seeing the poster for this at my local video store when I was younger, and not like a super chain. It was like a local store, like a dude owned it and everything. So thinking back, I'm like, man, he must have been a super fan, because this was a foreign, like it wasn't an American film or, you know, whatever. It's like a German So, which I never realized until watching it. So I never realized it was like from German or whatever. But the story for this one is, Lola like answers the phone at the start of the movie. Her boyfriend, whose name I'm forgetting, but I suppose it's not that point, but her boyfriend's like, oh my God, I've lost this $100,000. Technically Lola sort of, caused it, or he blames it on her. Wasn't her fault. She got her bike stolen, which is, and then she couldn't meet him somewhere. So then he caught a bus. And then while on the bus, he gets off it accidentally and he leaves his bag of like 100,000 Deutschmarks on the train. So now he's fucked because he owes this money to like a drug dealer, and a drug dealer is going to come like pick him up and presumably kill him in 20 minutes. So, and then Lola's like, no, I'll figure this out. No worries. 20 minutes. So, she just bursts out the door running, and there's a lot of running in this movie because what happens is, I don't think I spoiled it in the review, so I won't now, that there's a certain amount of times that we end up in a time loop. So this is a time loop movie. So Groundhog Day sort of affair, whatever you want to call it, where the events repeat until you get to the end of the movie. Lola retains what she knows each time. Although because the thing I appreciate about this movie is because it's such a high octane movie, and I think it's only like 80 minutes as well. So it's like very fast. Because it's so fast moving, and things just go, and you've got all these scenes of literally intense music playing while she's just running down the street, like it's like techno music and stuff like that. And it's cut well. It's cut to keep it exciting, which works. But she never stops to talk about it. So unlike other movies where the characters try to make sense of why this is happening, it's like she doesn't have time to stop, even though she just like suddenly she's back on the phone saying, I'll be there at 20. She doesn't suddenly go, oh, what's happening to me? It's like, no, it's fine. Just got to keep going. And you know she retains information because she does things differently based on what happened last time. So, but it's good. I think there's so many like small details in the back here, like lots of cause and effect. And the movie does a cool job of also like she'll bump into these characters on the street and it'll do these like photographs, like like Polaroid pictures showing what their future is. And then the next time we come around, because she's done something slightly different, they'll do it again and their lives are slightly different based on Lola. So, just saying everyone in the world sort of has effect on everyone around them depending on what choices they make and stuff like that. But yeah, I think performance is really good. It's shot really well. I'd never seen it before. I think I understand now why it was sort of a cult, one of those cult sort of films I know a lot of people love. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
So I checked out a film that's currently playing as part of the Japanese Film Festival online. So
This is how you watched it.
Yes. So
okay.
So it's currently running. It started February the 14th. It's running through till the 27th. A slate of a lot of Japanese films that you can watch online for free. So I checked out a film called It's a Summer Film, which follows a bunch of students who, here's one weird thing. All the main kids don't have normal names. They're all called by nicknames the entire time. So the main character's nickname is Barefoot. So she's a big samurai film fan. And she wants to make a samurai film, but the film club at her school is making a cheesy romantic comedy, which pretty much involves the two main characters saying, I love you, constantly. Like, that's pretty much most of the dialogue of the film. Just, I love something. So yeah, she's desperate. She really wants to make a samurai movie. She's persuaded by her friends. What are their ridiculous nicknames? One of them is Blue Hawaii, and the other one is Kickboard. I will also state, none of these nicknames ever explained in the movie. They recommend, that she makes it and fund it herself, and they'll help her make it. She just so happens to come across this one guy during a samurai film festival screening that she think would be perfect for her samurai film. And he doesn't want to be part of it to start off with, but eventually, he's very keen to see it get made. So, if she's not going to make it without him, he'll agree to do it. So, it's a fun coming of age story in which they're trying to make a film, but there's a little bit of a twist that is a little bit unnecessary, but I found it quite enjoyable. it gets very, out there towards the end of the film and that kind of thing. But yeah, really sweet, little film about making movies and that kind of stuff, and the importance of stories and that kind of stuff. So I would recommend watching that. There's a couple of other ones I'm hoping to watch before the 27th, but Horizon came out, so it's like time. Am I right?
Mm.
So yeah, you just go to search Japanese Film Festival. Sorry,
Why is it free?
I don't know.
Weird.
I mean, none of them are like super. None of the films are like new. Like this, it's a summer film coming out in 2021. But you've got other films from like 2008, 2012, much earlier. So yeah, I guess it's like just to promote Japanese films, and Japanese films are getting a big push for Drive My Car, obviously getting a big thing. Also, I guess this is promotional for other Japanese film festivals that usually run all over the world during the year. So, because they probably haven't been able to run them properly, this is a good promotional thing to say, hey, you should check out Japanese films. That kind of thing. So yeah, I would recommend checking it out. It's like super easy. Just have to set up an account and then you can watch. You can rent them and that kind of stuff. I did have to watch it like on my laptop because I couldn't quite. I don't know. You can Chromecast and stuff, but it just wasn't working and that kind of stuff. So.
I've had this problem recently. So this is like sort of an inside baseball thing, but does relate to stuff like this that's access to everyone else as well. But they like some screeners that you get, and then they don't let you Chromecast them, I guess, for security reasons and stuff like that. And they don't have an app. So some, I've run into this a couple times. I brought a USB-C to HDMI thing because I just got so sick of this, so then I can just open it on my iPad and just plug it into the back of a TV now, because I feel like that's probably just the easiest way to go about this in the future. But yeah, I was getting sick of this. There's been a few things I've had to watch on my like computer, but because that's the only way I could do it. Because even if I screen mirror to my TV because it's going off my phone, the resolution's just not right. Like it looks a bit fucked up, and I can't. And then if something happens on my phone, it appears on the screen. So I'm like, that's probably not the best way. But yeah, so if you've got these sorts of things are annoying sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I also watched a documentary that aired on Amazon Prime Video called Fat Tuesdays. So this follows the rise of this Fat Tuesdays event at the Comedy Store over in Los Angeles, in which there would be a night where a lot of black comedians would perform, and kind of how important that was to the rise of black comedians and like keeping the Comedy Store alive. It's interesting. Obviously, I talked about a Comedy Store documentary last year. This one is funnier and much more interesting and has like a wider, interesting, not as problematic cast of people. It does have Dave Chappelle in it, so that's one thing. But yeah, really interesting look at like this, how important this was and how it kind of affected all these different careers, and like would lead to a lot of these people showing up on HBO's Def Comedy Jam, which was obviously a big comedy thing on HBO, and obviously spotlighted a lot of comedians and that kind of stuff. They did get a lot of people come back and talk about their experiences and how important it was, and like some of the lesser names kind of people who like stayed, didn't necessarily go on to massive Hollywood careers and that kind of stuff, kind of interviewed and like that kind of stuff. And there's like a nice end point for the documentary as well, that kind of their legacy at the Comedy Store kind of gets recognized and that kind of thing. So I thought it was quite interesting, especially on the back of watching that on the Comedy Store documentary. Lots of funny stories and that kind of stuff. Not as depressing as that other one where it seemed like every episode ended with somebody's dead. This one a little bit more lighthearted, and although there is some emotional, like it's created by by Guy Torry, and his brother was also a big comedian, and they kind of had a bit of a rift after that kind of stuff. But they've come together during this documentary and that kind of stuff. So yeah, Fat Tuesdays, super interesting comedy documentary if you want to check that out. All right, Dylan, you checked out Encanto.
Yeah, it's pretty good. This one that I can't remember if it came to cinemas or not. Did it?
It did for like a couple of months.
Okay.
Month and a half, I think.
I thought it was always on Disney Plus. Maybe it was just one of those dual things, was it?
No, it was like out for like a month, and then they're like, "Hey, we're putting it on Disney Plus because whatever reasons."
Yeah, that makes sense. So Encanto movie, it's about I can't remember all the characters' names, but it's about this family who the grandmother has this like magical. She discovers this magic candle and like creates their whole house, and their house is magic. And then every family member throughout history for their family now they like have this whole ceremony where they touch this door and they get magical powers. And the main character is voiced by Stephanie
Beatrice
from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And in the Heights, she doesn't get powers when she touches the door. So, and then what happens is she sort of stuff starts going wrong, and then it's like, oh no, maybe her power is that she's gonna fuck everything up. Like other members of her family, like one of her sisters is like super strong, and her other sister has like flower power, and then it's like someone can transform, and her mum can heal people with food or something like that. And I don't know, everyone has like sort of powers. It's pretty fun. Like, there's a lot of like decent songs. I think We Don't Talk About Bruno is like sort of the standout sort of catchy one. And I love it. It has like that animal. I can never remember the name of the animal, but you don't really see him anywhere. And I was obsessed with it after the fact that I can't even remember what they're called. There's like
a toucan thing.
No, it's like a dog rat looking weird thing. Like
Chupacabra.
A lot. Yes, that thing. And I was like, man, you don't see those things. But it's in this. Like, it's one of the funniest things. Like, you look in the background and this thing will just be sitting there, like, just staring. Stuff. I'm like, yeah, best part of the movie was just me, like, not paying attention to what was happening, but just looking at this thing in the background, just being like, oh, that's funny. just watching what's happening in the background. It's like one scene where all the sand falls on its face, and it's just like, yeah, fuck life. And I'm like, yeah, I feel that. I got a whole different take on this movie than everyone else, I tell you.
Yeah. Everybody else is like focused on the plot or the songs, and you're just on Cooper Chopper watch.
Yeah.
It's there again.
Yeah. I googled it after the fact. I typed in YouTube, like, what are they called, scenes from Encanto. And there's video, like everyone's cut out all the scenes where it's like Encanto, but it's just the Cooper Chara thing or whatever. Like, it's just the scenes with him. Nothing else. So, I was like, good. That plays to my taste from this movie. But yeah, it's really good. I think it looks beautiful. Obviously, animation really, really solid. Very colorful. Songs are decent. And yeah, like the story was like sort of typical Disney Pixar. I don't think it had like a standout sort of like message that sort of separates it, or like something that, you know, like but that's the thing. Like, people criticize, I guess, Disney Pixar stuff where it's like, oh, it's not like a big thing or whatever. But like, yeah, it was perfectly good. I think the rest makes up for it. It's just, yeah, characters entertaining and whatever else. And ultimately the message is like, you know, family and that sort of typical stuff that Disney does, but Disney Pixar does.
Don't put expectations on your children.
Yeah.
Love your children for who they are. Yeah.
Most importantly, it's worth pointing out that I actually like this movie in a world where Ash assumes I hate every animated movie that comes out. So
I don't think that.
Well, there was that period where I was like, Soul was like, meh. And then, what's up?
No, you just hate Disney Pixar now.
Okay, that's true, yeah. No, it was Raya.
Raya was Disney.
Yeah. So I hate Pixar. Fair call.
All right. You also watched Hellbender? What's Hellbender?
Hellbender movie. So I actually quite enjoyed this. The funny thing about this movie is this. So let me just quickly open IMDb because I don't remember these people's names. But Hellbender, so the whole movie is done by family, which makes it sound like the sort of bottom of the barrel. And I sort of like, I knew this coming in because it was in the sort of like the press email that's like, oh, you know, the Addams Family, the return again, like after all their indie cult hits and stuff. I'm like, I've never heard these people. I'm sorry, I'm like a bad indie horror fan or whatever you want to call me. But I was like, that sounds like super low barrel indie if it's just a family affair. But I went in, I was quite surprised. I think it's done quite well. But for instance, like, so director, John Adams, Zelda Adams, Toby Poser. So that's the mum, dad, and the daughter, and or one of the daughters. And then the cast is Zelda Adams, Toby Poser, Lulu Adams, John Adams. There's the daughter, the mum, the daughter, the dad. Like she's Zelda Adams, who plays the main girl. She's also listed as cinematographer because I was like looking up after the fact that like John Adams directs most of the stuff and shoots most of the stuff, the dad. And he like apparently said in an interview that Zelda, who at the time maybe was like, I don't know, like 16 doing this or something probably, but 15, 16, I don't know. But she was like, no, we need like these drone shots or something. And so they brought a drone and she did all the drone shots throughout the movie. So she gets the cinematography credit and stuff like that. So I don't know, there's something like fun, just like, and it is good. Like it's not like mind blowing, like the best fucking thing I've watched, but it is like quite good. I think like everyone gives these good performances, and as far as like making a horror movie, it's all done very well. But the plot is, it's a witchcraft movie, and definitely one of the better ones I've actually watched in years, which is what I say in my review, because most of the time I feel like people go super far in one direction or another, and it's just not fun or just bad or over the top. But so she Toe Poser plays this mum and Zelda Adams plays this daughter. And they're living out in buttfuck nowhere in the woods because what's her character name? So Izzy, and then the mother is just listed as the mother. But Izzy's been told that she's got some rare condition. She can't be around other people because like she's got a health condition and she could die and all this sort of stuff. But long story short is she's holding a deep secret, which is that they are part of like this long witch cult thing or whatever. Like she has this in her blood, and then not to spoil too much, but obviously at some point in the movie, Izzy discovers this and starts realizing her powers, and then you've got this whole, you know, sort of stereotypical, not stereotypical to a degree storyline where it's about this young girl who gets access to these powers and discovers secrets, and what will she do without them or sort of thing. But like Lulu Adams plays this girl Amber, who Izzy comes across like her sunbathing or like in this person's pool, who's not even her house, and she's like, that's the first person she interacts with because she doesn't really interact with other people, and she starts becoming friends with her, and there's some good stuff there. So yeah, it's not like there's nothing like super gory or top in here, but it does do through editing and some nice sort of practical effects that when they get into sort of the witchcrafty sort of stuff, or like her unlocking her powers and like the visions she's sort of seeing and stuff. It's quite cool and stuff. But yeah, ultimately it's sort of a family story about this mother and daughter and their relationship and keeping secrets and powers and lineage and stuff. But I was very impressed with being in just a family group making this and doing a bunch of reading about how they got into making films and stuff. I definitely want to watch some of the other stuff because I'm just quite impressed with their sort of, we'll work it out attitude. I appreciate that.
All right. That's coming to Shudder, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Shudder. So all the horror movies that we talk about, Shudder. So that, They Live in the Grey. I think that was it this episode, right? Yeah.
Yep. All right. Yeah, so I finished up the season of Peacemaker. Of course, the series that stars John Cena as Peacemaker, as appeared in the Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn, written by James Gunn, following the events of that movie in which he comes back and is enlisted into uncovering a massive conspiracy involving, I guess, we're towards the end of the season, I'll spoil it, involves an alien race.
Whoa.
Yeah, fantastic show. Like, you pulled it off. It is super fun. Sure, sometimes the jokes get a little bit more immature at times and kind of run a bit too long. But that could just be my personal taste. I think it's like well choreographed. There's lots of cool action sequences. Surprisingly, they found a way to redeem Peacemaker to a certain degree, and make him a character you kind of like and support. Yeah, they left it in an interesting place where they're definitely doing season 2, so I'm excited to see these characters potentially reunite for season 2. And I would definitely recommend checking out Peacemaker, currently streaming on Binge. I don't know if you haven't watched it yet, so we might talk about it sometime in the future.
Not that I don't want to. Hopefully
time.
I will get there. Yeah, time.
Alright. Let's move into the mandatory Netflix movie of the show. Dylan, you did one more horror movie review for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, what's the story behind this movie, right? It's a legacy sequel to the first original one?
Yeah. They've copied the playbook of Halloween 2018, which is Ignore any and all sequels that came after the first one. Make it a direct sequel to the first movie and bring back the main character as an older lady who wants revenge against the main villain.
Yeah, but it seems like the one thing they didn't do that one did is they didn't make it good.
Correct. This movie is bad. I think I gave it a 2 or 2.5 or something like that.
2.5.
And the only reason I didn't give it like a 1 is because I did enjoy some of and they're not even that great, but like there was an agreement. It was like this killing scene. It's not scary. It's just blood everywhere. But I'm like, you know what? I'm sort of entertained by this for at least a 5-minute scenes here, 5-minute part here. But yeah, so the movie starts. It's about these like group of horrible characters who I don't like any of them, and they're like rich kids or whatever, and they're moving to this town, and they're brought to town, and they're planning on auctioning off all the houses in it. The movie's about gentrification, more or less, but like literally, and they come in. And by the way, the movie's quite short. I think it's not even 90 minutes. So like that's sort of helpful. It does speed past and then straight out one eye hole. Forgettable. Yeah. It doesn't drag for too long. So they get there and then everyone's gone from town apart from this one dude who's like helping them out or something. And he's like a stereotypical sort of gun nut or whatever. And then the only actor I knew in this movie was Ellie, whatever her name is from
Elsie Fisher.
Elsie Fisher from 8th grade, and she plays this character who was the victim of a school shooting. So they set it up at the start where she's got like a scar where she was shot. So they're like, oh, this dude's a gun nut. She's like, fuck this dude and all this sort of stuff. So that's funny. This movie throws out so many like left-wing politic sort of discussion points, but it has no idea what it's doing. And I'll point out the thing I hate about this movie so much in a second. Well, I thought it was just dumb, but there's a lot of dumb in this movie. So then they like go to kick. There's one old lady in this house and she's like, oh no, like the bank told me I could stay. And they're like, no, you got to leave. And it's starting to get aggressive and they go get the sheriff and the sheriff's like, no, you got to leave. And then she starts like, I guess having a heart attack or something. I don't really know. But anyway, she like froze up all over the floor and they're like, oh my God, like something's happening. And then they take her to the ambulance and this big dude comes with them and you never see his face, of course, because it's Leatherface, the villain of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and like it's her mother. It more or less implies that he's kept good since the events of the first film because she says to him like, be a good boy. Like in her dying breath, she's like, no, you be a good boy. She dies and then he just goes ballistic from that point. Like he breaks the sheriff who's like next to him's arm in half, like stabs him with his own fucking neck bone for the elbow bone for the neck, which was, I guess, a good way to kick things off. And then from there, he's just like heads back to town and Leatherface just wants to kill everyone. For causing the death of his mom. And I mean, it sounds bad, but to a degree, I was like, yo, I mean, you weren't nice to that lady. Like, maybe you all do deserve to die. Plus, you all just seem like bad, horrible people that I don't like. Other than what's of McCall's character, I was like, you know, just, I don't know why she's in this movie because she just doesn't seem like she belongs in it. I'm like, okay, like maybe you're all right because you're a survivor of a school shooting, which is horrible, but everyone else I'm like, yeah, it can all die. But there's so many moments like I'm just going to spoil some things here, and also if you care, like feel free to skip ahead, but also I don't care about spoiling this movie because it's bad and I suggest not watching it. So but there's like a moment with this character, one of the characters is like under the floorboards and Leatherface finally gets his chainsaw and he sticks it in the ground and he's like running it forward to try and get her, and the camera's like obviously with her under the floorboards chasing her. It's just like saw's like and she's going forward. I'm like, just roll sideways. Just literally roll sideways. And like he won't get you. But she's just doing that whole running in a straight line thing, like crawling in a straight line. And at that point I was like, fucks this movie, man. Like this fucking movie. But the scene that's probably going to be the most talked about is this bus scene, which is in the trailer. You tease like all these people all these motherfuckers who are buying out this town, like having a party in the bus and like drinking and whatever else. Like Leatherface steps onto it and then like with a chainsaw and all this sort of shit. And then this dude at the front pulls out his phone and starts like live streaming on Instagram or whatever. And he goes, try anything and you're cancelled, bro. And then like Leatherface just like starts like tearing through, I don't know, like 20, 30 people that are in his bus. It's like a 5-minute scene where he just like starts cutting them in half one by one. Like blood's like fucking everywhere. Like it is like so over the top sort of gory. It's just nonsensical. But I don't know. That was the only like sort of redeeming. I was like, it was entertaining for at least a couple minutes. Like it's not even gross humor. Like it's so much blood that it's not gross anymore. Like it's just sort of cartoony level violence to like at that point. So, but the thing that annoyed me the most, and I won't spoil how the movie ends, but like the main plot point for this movie, or at least how I took it, was that the what's her fucking name? Sorry,
Elsie
from 8th
Fisher.
grade? Elsie Fisher's character, like the overarching character story for her is she keeps like, she has this moment where she tries to pick up a gun and like gets like triggered and like has to throw it away and all this sort of stuff early in the movie, and like all this sort of gun, the blood, she has these flashbacks throughout the whole movie to her like laying on the floor surviving the shooting and all, like it's like she's obviously a traumatized character, and then her big moment is like where she picks up a gun and is able to fire it. I'm like, was this movie sponsored by the NRA? Like, and that's the thing I say in my review. I'm like, this fucking movie, like the character through line is she was a victim of gun violence, but also she discovers that guns in the right hands can save you from Leatherface. Like, I was like, what a fucking dumb plot line. So anyway, yeah, the movie's bad. I don't know, 2.5 out of 10 stars. I suggest not watching it. I do suggest if you've got 5 minutes, go and watch that bus scene if you just want to watch a quite funny moment when Leatherface just fucking tears through these motherfuckers. The only reason that scene exists is because it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and if he only killed the 4 or 5 main characters in the movie, whatever it was, it's like, well, that's not enough. So we need this boss, and we need him to like just kill them all. Massacre done, solved, problem done. Move on. Anyway, I think it's better the franchise stayed there. I don't think it's the worst. I think either I can't remember which one it is. There's like the 3D one or like the Leatherface or something. I don't know. I haven't watched them all for a while, but I'd say there's one worse than this, but otherwise it's pretty bad.
All right.
And there's a reason it didn't go to cinemas, and Netflix brought it and just like chucked it out. So.
Yeah, I gathered that. Yeah, it seemed to have a lot of problems before it even came out. Like, I saw this kind of the discussion before that and that kind of stuff. So yeah, not a good movie. Don't check it out.
Nope.
All right, we both watched the new first episode of the new Kanye West documentary series, Jeen-yuhs, in which it turns out a camera crew had been following him since before he even got...
Well, I mean, one dude, right?
Yeah, the guy behind Channel Zero, which I've heard of before, in circles and that kind of stuff. I don't know where, but, you know.
It was big.
It comes up.
It was huge, like cult sort of thing for especially like rap music and like New York and whatever, so.
Yeah, so this guy, I think it's Cudi, right? Is the one who follows him around. He's been following him around since.
Not Kid Cudi, Cudi.
Cudi.
Just yes, because I'm sure Kid Cudi comes into this eventually.
Yeah. So this first episode like starts at the beginning, where he's working pretty much as a producer, making beats for other people. Major turning point, him working with Jay-Z on the Blueprint, and then him kind of wanting to become his own rapper and get a deal. And kind of the rise of Kanye from obscurity to becoming a full musical artist. Yeah,
I mean, we don't even get there in this.
Yeah, the episode ends with him signing his record deal. So you know that's the start. But yeah, it's a really interesting look at Kanye, and you could even then you can see like certain elements that are like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like this, I think a seminal scene in this is he decides he's going to like just bum rush the record studio and just hang out there and then just play his single or whatever to anybody who'll listen. You know, that seems like a very Kanye thing to do. But yeah, I found it very fascinating and like very riveting to watch. We also get like a couple of interviews with his mother, Donda, like they're filming while they're having conversations, that kind of stuff. You're like, oh yeah, you can see the massive influence that she's had on him, and that kind of stuff. And it's like even like weird stuff. Like they decided the day before he's set to it's revealed he signed the record deal, they're going to go to his old house and film there. It's like, yeah, this footage will come in handy later and that kind of stuff. It's like all these fortuitous things kind of going together. Even another thing is like he has beef with someone. One of his mentors has beef with him. It's like slags him off on radio. So and him having to deal with that. And it's like very... You
can tell he doesn't take it well at all. Like,
yeah. So yeah, what do you think, Dylan?
I really liked it. I think it's great. I think like it's great as if you're a Kanye fan or like an ex-Kanye fan, which is what I would call myself, or like even if you just like a good documentary. I definitely feel like this falls into if you just enjoy a good, like interesting sort of musical documentary, this would fall under that category because I definitely think it's very good so far based off the first part. But yeah, as a ex-Kanye fan, like it's crazy. Like it's always that meme thing. Like we miss old Kanye, and like Kanye started saying that like this has always been me and all stuff. I'm like, nah, dude. Like,
No.
like he's cocky in this, but also to a degree that I can sort of like appreciate because he's like cocky because he knows he's got some talent and he's not getting the sort of respect he deserves, which I can sort of appreciate. Like I don't feel like he's like too cocky. Like it's like, yeah, I couldn't do that, but you know, I'm more like. More power to like that whole scene, like him just playing the song or whatever. I'm like, you know what? Make your move if that's what you got to do. Like, it's not like sort of. It doesn't get ultra cringy to me. I'm just like, all right, whatever. Like, sure, let's do this. Like,
I mean, it is awkward,
but it is
because all those other people are on other calls.
Yeah, I mean, even when he talks about himself, like he comes across cocky, but it's not. I wouldn't say if this was Kanye now, like I would be like, yeah, he's cocky, but you know. He's also really good. So it's that whole thing. He's cocky, he's really good. Now it's like, he's an asshole, he's cocky, he's a terrible person, he makes good music. There's too many crosses for me to make
It's funny because the opening is like him talking to the camera and mentioning the documentary in relation to his presidential campaign. Yeah.
So it's like, we'll get to that. Like they're like, hey, we'll get to this in part 3, but like, let's start with that. Here's he now. Let's rewind time. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting look. I think it's like, it's one of these things where you sort of have to appreciate the fact that someone Kudi made this decision to sort of leave a lot behind to just sort of follow Kanye around, which like, I'm interested to see when we go to part 2, like what, because I guess in his mind, he's like, the story is how this dude who he thinks has a lot of talent gets his record deal, and then, you know, College Dropout has to come out, and that's obviously a huge success. Like, why he doesn't at that point go like, well, that's the movie. You know, it's taken so long. Was it just because things just kept getting crazy and crazy?
Kept things happen, I guess, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We keep going.
I assume
I
assume once everything's out, they'll probably have like full on interviews about why it took so long and kind of stuff.
Well,
but obviously,
I was going to say, I assume maybe he shopped it around and people were like, no, we're not interested in that. Or, you know, like, so he just sat on it. Maybe. But I mean, he did other stuff during that time period as well. It wasn't just following him around all the time. Yeah.
He obviously shot a couple of Kanye's videos and did other music videos and that kind of stuff. And that kind of stuff in between. So, yeah, really interesting. And it's interesting when I was watching it. It's like, it's kind of like, obviously being 3 parts, it's like Star Wars, but it's the prequels. You know, rise up and then Anakin becomes evil towards the end. But yeah, I'm definitely keen to check out the other 2 parts. Interesting continued strategy. You know, big.
I think I went and looked after I watched it. I don't have them out anyway because I'm never going to like put them. But like, I went and found. I'm like, okay, well, there's my college dropout, like registration, you know, like all these CDs. I like had my like live, I can't remember what it's called, but like the live performance DVD that was released from college dropout, like live performance from late registration, like all this sort of stuff. I'm like, oh, here's my box of like shame. Kanye stuff that I don't want out. But I mean, it's all interesting because I was driving in the car like the day after listening to this. I kind of wanted to listen to Kanye music, but I was like, nah, I can't. I watched the documentary, but I'm still on I'm not listening to Kanye.
No. Dylan, you also checked out The Tinder Swindler on Netflix.
It is quite good. Love a good weird crime Netflix thing. This is from the producer of I Don't Fuck With Cats. Not the same director. Oh no, some weird thing. Anyways, from those sort of same people. It's just a movie though, not a series. The plot for this, without spoiling everything, because of course these things are sort of built on you going in, and it's a lot more enjoyable if you don't know the full story. Especially as Netflix has like a podcast.
I assume Tinder is involved, as
Tinder
is swindling.
Is involved, yes. But I've also like I'll say now just before I forget, if you enjoy this, Netflix has a podcast where they release like sometimes for shows they'll release like a few episodes of extra material, and this has one of those. It's 3 episodes, well worth checking that out. But this, so it's about these there's a bunch of girls, but obviously it sort of focuses on 3 main ones, I think it is, who like sort of agree to be interviewed and whatever. But the long short of it is, so girl A meets this dude on Tinder. They go out, have a lovely dinner. He's like, I want to get to know you more. I'm super rich. Like, I'm part of this diamond family or whatever. And like, she takes him out, like flies on jet to another country. Great time. All this sort of stuff. Like, they're dating for like months. And then he's like, oh man, my cards aren't working in this country or whatever. Can you like transfer me, like $50,000 and I'll pay you back tomorrow? And she's like, oh, he's a billionaire. Like, oh no, like what a problem. Like my boyfriend needs, sure, I'll just get a loan and send you that. And imagine if he's doing to that similar scenario to a lot of girls at the exact same time and sort of using some girl's money to pay another girl back while taking money from another girl and doing it like it's more or less a pyramid scheme. And he doesn't actually, he's not actually a diamond son. He doesn't have any money and it's all fake. That's what this movie's about. It is insane. Like, I think the number one thing I got from watching it was the pressure, like he has so many things going on in his life. I just want to know if he had like a calendar to work out who the fuck he was supposed to call and text and do and all this sort of stuff. Like, it is sort of insane. And like, I don't even think the people who made this, like, in that podcast I listened to with them, even they can't wrap their head fully around like how he like was doing a lot of this and how it all works and whatever else. But, yeah, I would suggest watching it. It's very interesting. It's also obviously fucked up that he manipulates and does this shit to people, but it's definitely very interesting. And I'm keen to see, since it only came out at the start of the month or whatever, if anything actually happens because of it. Because like the one thing I will spoil is this dude's still out there. He's still doing shit. He's not in prison.
It came out that he's been banned from Tinder, so his whole business model's screwed.
They show. Skip ahead if you don't spoil it. This is the third time I've said this, but
yeah.
I was going to say, skip ahead if you don't spoil it for the end of the movie. But at the end of the movie, in like the post sort of like pre-credits, little black screen thing, they show, and I looked it up after the fact, like he's on Instagram or whatever, and he's like having pictures with Ferraris and girls and stuff. So he's getting money from somewhere. Again, it's probably not, they legally say, we don't know how. It could be legal. Like, it probably isn't. So he's probably ripping off or has another scheme or something. But yeah, for this dude and they ask like police, like professionals or whatever, like how he isn't in prison, like for, the rest of his life, what he does. And it's because his crimes are from countries all over the world. And there's no way like they would have to like form a world police to sort of prosecute him for all these things he's done in so many different countries and states. And, it's like very, very confusing. So, yeah, definitely worth watching.
That's everything in our Lost history. Let's move into some film news. But let's staying on the Netflix train because massive or really interesting Netflix news. The Marvel Netflix original programming appears to be leaving the platform in March. Users noticed as they started up series like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Punisher, or Defenders that a message would come up saying that this series would be leaving Netflix from the 1st of March. Dylan, this seems to be the first one of these Netflix original series like that have disappeared. There currently is no home listed yet. No one said officially where they're going. We can assume, but this is interesting, like contract-wise, like what the deal is here.
I assume it's going to have to show up on Disney. I'm like, in my mind, I feel like just making these shows disappear is dumb. Even if the reason they're doing it is obviously because they're bringing all these characters like Daredevil or whatever into the MCU now, and they just don't want confusion, I guess, amongst what's canon or not canon, I guess, or they would just want to own everything. And the Marvel stuff is the only thing they don't own currently. It's kind of like they brought Fox, they got everything back, but then they're like, fuck, we gave Marvel some shit.
Netflix, yeah.
Netflix some shit, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Disney's like, shit, they got a massive bump. Like, after No Way Home, where, spoilers, Daredevil appears. And I guess from Hawkeye, where Kingpin appears at the end. and they're like, nah, we should be the ones getting the extra eyes on these, not Netflix, because there was a massive push of people watching Daredevil in the week since.
Yeah.
So, I don't recall like another Netflix series like kind of being dropped and removed from the service. I think I've seen like one or two Netflix series like be revived elsewhere, but I don't think I've seen things that have debuted on Netflix that were funded or come to some sort of agreement with Netflix like be removed. Stuff that debuted on Netflix, I guess.
I'm going to assume they just brought, like, maybe in their deal they have a way to buy it out. Maybe that was maybe they had a way to, because it was still a Marvel show that was distributed, I guess, by Netflix. So maybe they have a way to buy back buy out the publishing distribution of Netflix, and then they put it on Disney Plus. They put it on Disney Plus. They put a legacy banner on it, or, some sort of thing that separates it from, so people know it's not part of the MCU, and then they've got it. They get the views, they get the hits, and they get to sort of control the narrative as well.
Or is this a bigger thing? Is this they're gonna make these things kind of for the MCU? Obviously, they've got Charlie Cox, they've got Vincent D'Onofrio. Do they have future plans for these series? Obviously, they talked about wanting, what's her name from Jessica Jones to potentially come back.
But that means I have to deal with Finn Widdock or whatever.
He can die off.
He
can be recast.
For every plus, there's a negative.
Okay. We don't need two martial artists in the MCU.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I have no problem with them being like fitting it in. And I've watched 80-90%. I don't think I watched the last season of Iron Fist. I don't think so. And I've watched all of Jessica Jones. I watched all of Daredevil. I watched The Defenders. I watched all of Luke Cage. I think maybe I didn't watch the season of Iron Fist or something like that. But I'm pretty sure I've watched all of it. None of it that I could think of wouldn't fit into the MCU, technically. I really don't feel like it can. So if that's something they want to do, that's fine by me. And I would love Jessica Jones to come back, because obviously that was my favorite of the Netflix Marvel seasons and characters.
Kristen
and stuff.
Ritter, that's who it is.
Yeah.
Just going to be.
I'd love her to come back. That'd be great. And obviously Daredevil's fantastic as well, apart from season 2, which I thought was pretty avo after the Punisher shit. Yeah, I mean, either way, I just don't know. But they obviously there's something going on. It's not just Netflix or Marvel being like, take that down, and then Netflix is like, fuck you, fine, we will. There's something. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see them definitely like tying it in, or they could just have it on the service, because they'll have all the Marvel stuff in the one place, so all the fans will be happy. Have it there, or they can make it canon like the rest of the MCU and Agents of Shield. Have it all there in one place. So yeah, that's interesting. I guess we'll see. They released Disney Plus released like their March offerings. And none of those series were there, so April maybe, or there could be a little bit more of like a period where they're not allowed to have it on any other streaming service. So, yeah.
I didn't watch any of the Punisher. That's actually the one I just read. I didn't watch any of the Punisher. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah. So it'd be if you wanted to watch any of those, you've got 6 days left.
Get to it.
You
can watch all of that in 6 days somehow. If you don't work, or
you could just wish that it was on physical media.
Do you see that? Do you see my boy on Twitter this week? I say my boy like he's not older than me, but
Ronnie Chang?
Mike Flanagan. No.
Oh, Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, Mike Flanagan. Someone tweeted at him and was like, "Hey, when are you gonna put whatever show it was?" I can't remember. One of his on
any of them
Blu-ray, any of them on Blu-ray, and he quote retweeted it. It was like, I ask Netflix all the time, but they won't let me. All this, so I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you tell them."
Yeah, why not? Get extra money. Get that Blu-ray money.
I think the only Netflix stuff I've seen on Blu-ray has been Orange is the New Black, House of Cards, and the.
I've seen BoJack on.
Okay, BoJack.
There has been one TV series that has just been shown that has gotten the most fan reaction in the last 2 weeks. Do you want to guess what it is?
No,
what,
I don't know.
What property has gotten the most fan reaction in the last 2 weeks?
Star Wars?
No.
Batman?
No. Dylan, we got our first look at Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
I forgot.
The new Amazon Prime series set before the events of Lord of the Rings, before the events of The Hobbit. And, people are not happy. Some people have fair criticism about it not looking like a fantastic looking show. But there seemed to be a lot of focus on a lot of the characters being of different ethnicities and races. And how that is definitely
what do you mean? They're all fucking elves. Like, they're elves. That's the race. What are you talking about? It's fucking...
different skin tones, I guess.
Okay. They're fucking elves, Like, if you play a D&D character and you're like, I'm race. Elf.
Yep. You got me there. Yeah. I think it looks fine. It's like, obviously we've got a couple of like publicity photos. That it looks pretty. It looks shiny. It kind of looks like Lord of the Rings. But yeah, the backlash has been pretty insane. Apparently, a ton of people who've been writing on the Lord of the Rings, on the trailer, on the trailer video, they've been quoting, "Evil cannot create anything new. It can only spoil and destroy what good forces have invented and created." Which, fucking hell, these crazy, like, right-wing people, like, I don't know. It seems like there's an element as like, oh, they're just diversifying for the sake of diversifying, but like, that's fine. I'm sure they're good actors. We've seen a minute 30 of it. How about you just wait to judge it on what actually comes out? Yeah, Dylan, what have you seen of the new series, and what do you think of the fan reaction?
I haven't seen any of this fan reaction, so that's why I was like blinded to assuming that's what we was talking about. Yeah, I mean, I watched the trailer. I was like, yeah, looks alright. I guess I don't know. I had no thoughts. I was like so neutral. I was just like, that was a trailer. I guess that was a thing. I'm excited to watch it. I'm keen to watch it. I don't know if you've seen, but like I just jump on you on the podcast, but we're doing a Lord of the Rings rewatch before this comes out later in the year. So,
are we?
Yeah, that's on the cards.
That's on the card.
Let me tease something live on air. I think we may need an entire new podcast feed to talk about Lord of the Rings. But
wow,
you throw things out so make sure they happen. But I'm not like I'm keen for this, not based off a trailer. I was just keen originally. I was like I'm keen off hope. When they're like, we're doing Lord of the Rings series, and at first I was like, that sounds terrible. I don't want that. And then they're like, yeah, but it's not the movies. It's before. I'm like, cool. That actually sounds exciting. As someone who's not like a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but a moderate one who can't like remember all the characters' names, but just generally enjoys Lord of the Rings. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Let's go. And I watched the trailer, and I was like, that was like a teaser trailer. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but it looks like it has money in it, I guess. Cool story. I'll wait for the full trailer. And yeah, as to the characters' race being changed, yeah, I don't give a fuck, obviously. I don't give a fucking idiots.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to adaptation, I think, more than anything else. Like, you're adapting it to modern times. Like, people like to see different people on screen, not just a bunch of white dudes. In a fantasy setting. It's not that.
Yeah, I never understand it in the fantasy setting. People complain. They'll be like, people do this or anything that's set in a fantasy time. They're like, this isn't realistic. Back in the fucking medieval ages with Sauron and shit, it was this unrealistic. They didn't. The black people were slaves. I'm like, this isn't reality, dude. Like, we're not talking like, because that's the one thing. Like, people get annoyed when And even then, I don't care. But like, at least there's some like sense of reality to it when people make movies like set in the 1800s or whatever, and you like, you know, and like people have that for like shows like Dickinson and stuff where they're just like, our show is just not like set. Like it's set in that time, but also
it's not historically accurate.
It's not historically accurate, and we give zero fucks, which is fine. But that's when people are like, yeah, but this is realistic. It's like, it's not, it's also not trying to be. I'm like, at least you're like, I don't agree with you, but at least I can understand, I guess, where you're getting there, even though it's a dumb thing to say. But whenever people make the same argument for fantasy setting, I'm like, your argument makes... Look, people did this for The Witcher 3 when it came out, I remember. Even the game, you know? They were like, oh, this non-white character over here, this is terrible. Like, why? It's a game about motherfucking hunting dragons and monsters and shit. Like, what part of this is like at any so yeah, I don't get it. When people are like Lord of the Rings, everyone was white. Everyone has to be white. The elves, the realistic thing that's a real thing that's elves are all white. Okay. Are they? I mean, there's dragons and monsters. There's a motherfucker like making a bunch of rings and giving the people power. And there's, you know, like there's fucking hobbits in this that run around with hairy feet. Like, who gives a shit?
There's orcs talking about stuff being on menus.
Yeah. Like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it just, you know, I don't know.
Get life.
It's one of those things you kind of have to be put up with. I'm sure if the show's not good, they'll blame it on the changes they've made. I feel like if Tolkien had written the books now, like all the characters wouldn't have been white. That's just how stories are told now.
Yeah.
Unless they're white supremacists.
There was no. Yeah, I guarantee you there was just all white because it was, you knew, like probably when he was writing them, that they wouldn't sell if they weren't all white characters. Or he could have been racist. I don't know.
I think it's been proven that he was very not racist. So
okay, so then he was just, I would assume it's just it's one of those
it's of the time things. Yeah,
it's of the time where I would assume that nothing to do. But also, I can also guarantee that he didn't describe the color of every single character in the Lord of the Rings universe fucking skin. So how do you know? You know what I mean? How do you know? How can you say?
Yeah, especially when these are based on like the appendices of different books.
Yeah.
It's like, none of this is yeah.
Got no
I
stake
think
in this
go into this expecting this to be not be canon, I guess, to a certain degree. It's like, don't expect it to tie into books perfectly.
Yeah, they ain't gonna tie into the books. Shit.
Yeah.
Also,
just let it be its own story. But, you know, with Lord of the Rings in the title.
I'm keen. And like, I watched the trailer and I didn't get excited for this show, but like watching it and like seeing Lord of the Rings and all that stuff, it just like, and when they released that teaser with the cool, where they made that like physical title card thing, and they did that behind the scenes video and all that sort of stuff, and the music and everything else lately, it has made me be like, I really want to watch Lord of the Rings now. I'm just saving it. You know? I haven't chucked it on yet. I'm saving it for content, like a good boy.
Yeah, to let me know on air, it's recording that we're doing this podcast. Are we doing all the 6 films? Or?
Yeah, all 6 films extended editions, or at least all 6 films and at least extended editions of the Lord of the Rings, because they're obviously
are extended editions available on streaming services easily.
Fuck if I know. It's not my problem.
So what you're saying is I need to go buy these extended editions.
I mean, maybe they are streaming. I fucking don't. Hold on. Let's do this live. If I go to iTunes, right, and I write in Lord of the Rings, you're telling me they don't have the option to rent either or? Either or? No, maybe they don't. Fuck.
Well, I mean, I've looked in the past for like Kingdom of Heaven, and it's like, how do I watch the extended edition? Because that's the good version.
Lord of the Rings trilogy just says it has the movies. Lord of the Rings trilogy. Oh, you can. Or you can buy them digitally. You can't rent them digitally. Oh, shit. Oh, shit, son. You know what I reckon, Ash?
What?
I reckon you head down JB Hi-Fi. I reckon you buy the Blu-rays. I reckon you do it for the content.
I'll make that investment. Take that.
So I haven't watched any of the extended editions.
I don't think I've watched the extended editions either.
No, but I brought that 4K Blu-rays, right? Made sure I got them. So I've got them. I haven't watched them yet.
Of course you did.
I'm excited. Now, everyone says Lord of the Rings extended editions are hot shit. I know this. We're definitely watching those. Hobbit extended editions, I think most of the consensus on those that I gathered was makes the films maybe a little bit better, but also they're still pretty average. So I could either do here or there without extended editions on The Hobbit because I don't love those movies. But Lord of the Rings definitely have to do the extended because
if we're doing those,
it makes more sense to just do the whole thing, doesn't it? Yeah. I put this part back in. We just discovered the podcast name, and we're not telling you. Ash has cut it because he doesn't want people to steal it. But we just on air, even though you don't hear it anymore.
Assuming somebody doesn't already have that podcast title name, which unlikely.
I mean, I don't feel like it's a super smart name, so I'm just going to do an on-air check.
I disagree, seeing as you credited me with coming up with the title.
What? Surely it's not that hard. Let's come up with his name. I don't see it.
All right.
I don't see it. I think we're good. Hold on. There's something similar. It has one episode. So, you know what I say?
No, that doesn't count. Fuck them. How long ago was that episode come out?
One episode, 2019.
Yeah, that doesn't count. You had 3 years.
Yeah. No, lock it in. Lord of the Rings podcast.
You got 2 years to put out more than one episode, so.
Lord of the Rings podcast coming July.
Oh, July. Jeez. It's going to be big.
I already figured it out. So Lord of the Rings comes out, Ring of Power comes out Friday the 2nd. So I already put in our Google calendar, the 6 weeks prior. So first episode has to drop mid-July.
All right, look forward to that.
Full of surprises for you, the audience, and Ash.
Speaking of surprises, we got surprised during the last week, or 2 weeks. Futurama, the series that just won't die, is coming back for a second revival over on Hulu. After almost a decade after we said farewell to the greatest delivery service in the universe, original show creators Matt Groening and David X. Cohen have announced a 20-episode revival because the last 3 years have been awful as surface dweller sewage, and we deserve nice things, dang it. I'm thrilled to have another chance to think about the future, or really anything about other than the present, said David Cohen. It's a true honor to announce the triumphant return of Futurama one more time before we can't get cancelled abruptly again. Dylan, are you a fan of Futurama?
No, not really, to be honest. I remember watching it. I know it's one of those things. I remember watching the first episode, and it was like that big thing, like the whole family watched it because it was from the creator of The Simpsons, brand new show. That was like such a exciting thing. Yeah, and I remember that sort of being like a televised event, and I think everyone at school watched it and everything. So
it might have even been tied in with like obviously it's set before Y2K, before like the year 2000.
Yeah, it was like 1999. So
yeah, I think it was like tied in.
But I never. I'm not saying I disliked it, but I never. Maybe the humor. Yeah, maybe also the humor was a bit more adult orientated when it came out, and I was maybe a bit too young, and I still preferred watching The Simpsons because I was like hugely into The Simpsons when I was a kid and everything. Like I'd watch Simpsons all day, every day. Like had box sets and all that sort of stuff. So, but Futurama, it would come on. Like I went down. So if I went to my Nan and Pops on the weekend at Ozstar, now known as Foxtel. And I'd watch Simpsons, like marathons. I'd have like all day Simpsons on, and then every now and then I'd sprinkle in an episode of Futurama. I would watch it, but when Simpsons came back, I was happier. So, like that's sort of how I felt.
Yeah, I was a big Futurama fan, so I'm pretty, I had the full box sets of all the episodes on the first run. I'd buy the movies when those came out, and then
those movies.
Yeah, because they got cancelled. And then as part of their way to come back, they did like a series of like straight to DVD movies.
Oh.
And then they subsequently got picked up, and those movies were cut up and made episodes for television. Oh. It's like a whole thing. Yeah, the show has had like 4 episodes functioning as finales for the series, but then it kept coming back and keep going and whatever. But unfortunately, this big announcement has been marred by the news that the voice of Bender, John DiMaggio, has not agreed to come back. It's currently still admittedly in negotiations, but he did release a statement on his Twitter Hi, I've been thinking about everything that's been going on these past few months and just want to be clear. I don't think that only I deserve to be paid more. Okay, because, he has not come back because he believes they haven't met his salary demands or whatever. To be paid more. I think the entire cast does. Negotiations are a natural part of working in the show business. Everyone has a different strategy and different boundaries. Their price. Some accept offers, some hold their ground. Bender is a part of my soul, and nothing about this is meant to be disrespectful. The fans or my Futurama family. It's about self-respect and honestly being tired of an industry that's become far too corporate and takes advantage of an artist's time and talent. Look, I wish I could give you every detail as you would understand, but it's not my place. Thanks again for everyone for the love. Still hoping for the best. So the word was that there were when it was announced, they were set to start doing table reads for the show, and that Bender was potentially being recast because John DiMaggio had not signed on. And it's kind of played out in the public like that he's they're still negotiating, but he hasn't agreed to come on for whatever amount of money they're offering him. Which is crazy. Why would you start production of a show without arguably the biggest breakout character locked in? I understand, it's a bit demeaning, but it's a voice actor, and it's I understand you're if we could just get somebody else to do an impression of Bender. But I think real fans would want and would appreciate the original voice actor coming back. And from what I understand as well, in the voice acting community, there is a very much they ain't big on what are they called? Picket line crosses or snitches or people who take other people's stuff if there's a disagreement on pay or whatever. But yeah, this is maybe the one of the voice acting things that I've seen stories come out in the last while. So yeah, pretty disappointing in that regard.
It's hard to comment because I don't know as much about sort of wage and sort of all that sort of stuff when it comes to, I guess, animation world compared to I've definitely read a bit more about typical Hollywood and the games industry and stuff. So, but yeah, it's hard. I think I've seen some stories about this and people just saying he should, stop trying to fucking get all the money and just do the job, or that sort of attitude where I'm well, you don't actually know what he's getting paid for.
And there's been some misleading headlines saying Kim Greedy and that kind of stuff, misquoting or misdirecting headlines and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So no, without knowing the full story, it's hard to really boil it out. But I guess at this stage, with what I have, I'd say good on him for sort of trying to get what he's worth, especially if other people are getting more money. So, because if I think Futurama, Bender would be the character I think of the most. So as a non fan, or as someone who watches the show but wouldn't whatever, it's Bender. Well, I know the main character. His name's Fry. Close, yeah. Fry, yeah. So, but Bender, yeah. See, come. The girl's name is One Eye, and then you've got Dr. Squidward.
I mean, that's pretty good imagine. Yeah. So, I guess unless things change, I'm not super excited about Futurama coming back. It's it's one of those difficult ones there. Yeah. I mean, with these Lasergeisy things, you just throw money at the original cast, right? That's what usually happens. Let's bring the friends back. Let's bring Dexter back. Let's sort of just give them money. Give them a payday. Because you're only bringing them back because you need content for your streaming service. Yeah, so yeah, it's a tricky one. Alright, so I don't know if you saw this, Dylan, but Paramount had their big investors ceremony or meeting or whatever, and they made a bunch of announcements. I don't know if did you see the long tweet thread?
I didn't go through the whole thing, but I saw it. Yes.
Yeah, obviously you saw like the big ones, like Halo Season 2 has already been ordered, despite the show hasn't even come out yet. And for all we know, things could go horribly wrong before it comes out, and it never does because Halo just is one of those cursed series that is doomed to never come to television.
The first season is going to come out, Ash. For fuck's sake.
All I'm saying is on the same network,
Oh.
same streaming services, Yellow Jackets. Put 2 and 2 together, Although, there's cannibals, that's what I'm saying. This is an in-joke from Arcade Couch. I will say, interesting, I read somewhere that they're going to reveal the Master Chief's face in this, apparently, which fans are not looking forward to.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, he's just a dude.
Oh, he has a face.
Oh.
They also announced that they're doing Sonic 3. That's already in development, as well as a Knuckles series with Idris Elba coming to Paramount Plus. So, that's exciting. Of course, they confirmed Quiet Place Part 3, I think, is coming 2025. I don't know. I'd assume that was a thing, but I think,
yeah, the second one ends. The second one ends, and you're like, oh, okay, so there's going to be another one.
Transformers is coming back in kind of a big way. Rise of the Beast is coming to theaters in 2023. There'll be a new animated series on Nickelodeon. And in 2024, there'll be a CGI animated Transformers theatrical film. Which, that seems smart. Just that means we might not have to deal with any more human characters.
A couple of those things sound interesting. Anything that's like not live action Transformers. Because I shit on those Transformers too much, but I've watched nearly every animated Transformers thing. I'm like all about that animated Transformers life, but fuck, I hate those live action movies with passion. So yeah, some of that we'll check out.
They confirmed that Damien Chazelle's Babylon, starring Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, will be coming to theaters first before streaming on Paramount Plus. They've got 3 new SpongeBob character-driven movies coming exclusive to Paramount Plus, as well as a big theatrical 10-point movie in the works. This is an interesting one. 2023 will usher in a new era of Turtle Mania with the theatrical release of a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie from Seth Rogen, followed by a series of villain-driven TMNT films exclusively for Paramount Plus.
I mean,
what? What?
Yeah, I don't know.
What villain? There's Shredder. There's Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah.
Krang, I guess. Are we going to get a Krang origin story? Are we going to get a Krang movie? Is Krang going to be played by Joaquin Phoenix?
Fuck, I can hope so.
That would be the dream, actually. No, I said it and put it out in the universe. Can we please get that?
I mean, I don't know. Seth Rogen involved, I presume, is just like a producer? Like, is that what they're saying?
Yeah, I'd assume so, yeah. Like, in the way he's involved in The Boys.
Yeah. So, I mean, could be good.
Could be good. I haven't had Ninja Turtles in a while, so yeah.
Oh.
For our big Paw Patrol fans out there, Paw Patrol movie sequel, The Mighty Movie for theaters, will be coming out in 2023. And a new Paw Patrol spin-off series for Nickelodeon Paramount Plus. That's exciting.
Fuck yeah.
Dylan, how do you feel about Blue's Clues?
I love Blue's Clues. Yeah, so I've seen this story. So yes, I loved a bit of Blue's Clues. I was past the age, but I used to put that shit on. So funny little side story. Foxtel used to be able to get that mobile one. You could watch it and it was like free, or like you could like trick it and then be able to watch stuff for free, or like pay $1 or something, like free Telstra, whatever. And I used to do this in high school. I used to just sit there watching Foxtel stuff on some of the stuff channels I could get for free. All the channels you could get for free was like Disney Junior or some shit like that. So I used to just sit there in class watching Disney Junior, like the young Winnie the Pooh show, like the really kids one and stuff. And Blue's Clues used to come on, and I'd sit there and I'd watch Blue's Clues quite a lot through high school. So
you found that more useful than the stuff that were teaching you in high school?
Oh, algebra. You really need this to get through life. Wow, this sheep is an A, and A times squared equals fucking, I don't care.
But at least you can spot things.
But look at me talking about Blue's Clues now,
That's true.
You're talking about fucking algebra.
Bring up Blue's Clues because they are set to do Blue's Big City Adventure, which will bring in all the Blue's Clues hosts crossing over in a No Way Home-like event.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's terrible?
It's absolutely terrible. I don't know who the audience for this is. It's me, I guess. I don't know.
I guess it's... yeah, I guess it's parents?
Yeah,
who feel nostalgic. Well, we got that video of like Steve or whatever who it is, first one
Steve.
last year, like telling people he's proud of us or whatever on the internet,
yeah.
And like, you know, they're like, yeah, everybody reacted well to that. Let's make a movie.
Yeah, bloody good on you, Steve. You know?
Good work, Steve. There's going to be a new Dora the Explorer animated series as well as a new live action series, in the same spirit as the recent Dora movie for older audiences. The way they announced that, it's unlikely that any of the cast from that movie is coming back. Yeah. But you know, Dora is still a strong franchise. There's going to be a Teen Wolf movie. iCarly is coming back. Star Trek Strange Worlds is a new series that's coming to Paramount Plus starting May 5th with Anson Mount as Captain Pike. That's exciting. There's a SEAL Team movie based on the SEAL Team TV series. There's a bunch of MTV rubbish. 2 more premiere event South Park movies are coming. This is an interesting one. Paramount Plus is premiering a exclusive Beavis and Butthead movie, followed by brand new episodes. Have you seen the image that's attached to this?
I haven't. No. Should I look? Does it look terrible? Is it going to ruin my life? Are they adults now?
I think it's meant to be... They're meant to be middle-aged men now.
I mean... I don't know about that then. I didn't say this, but I think the thing is when they're kids, like they sort of, because they're dumb, stupid teenage characters, I guess that sort of like let them get away with some of the shit. But if they're adults and they're just like, you know, like, does it still work? I don't know. I'd still watch it because I remember I watched all of Beavis and Butthead and then the movie. And I loved the movie when I was younger. And then when they brought it back, I don't know, mid-2000s? I don't know, probably around 12, 13, somewhere. 40. I don't know. They brought it back for like a season or two there at some point, and I was like loving that. And it was good, and it disappeared again. So, I mean, I'm keen. The thing of Beavis and Butthead was always it sort of, obviously a lot of the jokes and stuff was around them watching stuff that was happening in the world at the time, or like real music videos or, you know, clips and shit like that. And sort of, on top of everything else. So, I don't know. I'd check it out, but yeah, them as adults is sort of weird to me.
Yeah, this seems odd. So, yeah. Lots of other Paramount Plus stuff, but yeah, not much else that would be of interest to us or the audience.
Where's the Jackass 4.5 announcement? You know?
I guess it was too close to the movie being released that I want people to not go see the movie because they knew they were going to get one on Paramount Plus. So, yeah. All right. That's all the news for this week. Let's move into some thumbs for trailers. Of course, you can find all the links to these trailers in the show notes below, or you can go to explosionhour.com, check the episode, all the links are there. Dylan, the first trailer is Firestarter, directed by Keith Thomas, starring Zac Efron, Ryan Keira Armstrong, Sidney Lemon, Michael Grayers, and Kurtwood Smith. A couple desperately tries to hide their daughter, Charlie, from a shadowy federal agency that wants to harness her unprecedented gift for turning fire into a weapon of mass destruction. Her father taught her how to defuse her power, but as Charlie turns 11, the fire becomes harder and harder to control. When a mysterious operative finally finds the family, he tries to seize Charlie once and for all, but she has other plans. Of course, it's based on the Stephen King book. Dylan, what do you think?
Oh, that was a cool trailer. I liked it. That was good. I watched the original when I was younger. I can't really remember much of it other than Drew Barrymore. And I don't think I liked it very much, to be honest. So, and I haven't read the book either, but obviously it's sort of a beloved story he'd done, even if the original adaptation wasn't that well received. It's a cool concept, I think, especially I guess more so now than it was when it originally released, because as the trailer points out, there's like, oh, the original superhero, like that sort of thing. So I feel like this could attract a bigger audience now than it would have at the time, especially because, some people, I guess like yourself, don't like horror movies, but this isn't like a proper Stephen King's like well talked about, but this is more in the line of his like thriller stuff more than like horror, I guess. So I think this could have a potentially good audience in the year 2022. Zac Efron seems pretty decent in this as well as the dad.
Yep. So 2 thumbs up for you?
2 thumbs up. Yeah. I thought it was a good trailer.
Yeah, I'm going 1 up, 1 down. Just kind of disinterested. I guess the firepowers kind of look a bit weird. It's weird seeing Zac Efron playing like a father figure. Getting so old. Like it was only yesterday he was in High School Musical.
No.
That was yesterday, right? Yeah, I don't know. It just it didn't, like, the kid doesn't seem very good. Yeah.
Oh, really? Why are you picking on kids?
Yeah, I know. Well, if you're not up to snuff, you should be called out for it. Yeah, just doesn't look like it's going to be good, in my opinion. So yeah, 1 up, 1 down. Yeah, Firestarter. That's coming to cinemas. 12th of May. All right.
Right around the corner.
Next. What?
Right around the corner. Fast. First
not too
trailer.
far.
It's out in a couple months.
Yeah. Next up, Nope. Directed by Jordan Peele. Starring Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, and Steven Yeun. Caretakers at a California horse ranch encounter a mysterious force that affects human and animal behavior. This one had been built up for a while. Of course, we know nothing about the film. We still kind of know nothing about the film. But Dylan, what do you think of the trailer for Nope?
2 thumbs up. Can't wait. Let's fucking go. Movie of the year. Let's go. John Peele. Fuck yeah. I need to elaborate or? I mean, it's a really cool trailer. I love the. I watched this. I rewatched the trailer for Us, and then I rewatched the trailer for Get Out. And I'll tell you what, 3 to 3. Like, I think, like, they're all really good movies, but also the first trailer that drops for every single Jordan Peele movie, fucking, they're all banger trailers. They all just get you. You're like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. They're weird. They're creepy. They tell you what's up. And then like rewatching those trailers and then knowing how Us and Get Out finish, I'm like, oh, so good at like sort of setting up and twists and turns and like introducing things and like getting the theme out and all that sort of stuff. But obviously this is a lot different to his past two, where I'm sure this will have something to say to a degree because all of his movies so far have, but also this just looks like a fucking crazy alien movie to me. So I was like, yeah, let's fucking go. I just love how it also just comes up like, nope. Like that's, what a title. Love it. Yeah, double thumbs up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm giving it a double thumbs up. I think it's a good trailer. Like sets up the mystery around the premise reasonably well. Keke Palmer, she's very charismatic in this role. Her whole spiel about her great-great-grandfather being the first animal handlers in Hollywood and that kind of thing is fun. I could probably have just watched the trailer if it was just her dancing for the entire time. And then you get like Daniel Kaluuya, who looks kind of disinterested and embarrassed the entire time. Yeah, it is interesting. Dylan, what do you think the fuck is going on? Is this an alien movie?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it is, but that's what I would say based on the trailer. Yeah. There's like that one moment. Obviously, there's like they're looking up at the sky. There's like something happening in the sky. And then there's that one part where they're like running around and it looks like there's a little alien dude
shadow.
like behind the ranch or something like that. So, yeah, I don't know. But based on this, I'm saying aliens or some sort of thing from outer space.
Yeah. It seems to be. Someone pointed out that it seems like it's an acronym, the NOPE, for something. I can't find exactly what.
Really? How the fuck did they reach that conclusion? No online ponies.
Not of planet Earth.
Oh yeah, that could work, I guess. Yeah. Not off planet.
So,
Nope.
So yeah. Nope. Coming to cinemas in Australia, 21st of July. So not that far away. Next up, Jurassic World Dominion. Directed by Kellen Trevorrow. Starring Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Laura Dern, Samuel Neal, Jeff Goldblum, Daniel Pineda, Isabella Sermon, Justice Smith, Omar Sy, and B.D. Wong. This summer experienced the epic conclusion to the Jurassic era as two generations unite for the first time. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are joined by Oscar winner Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, and Sam Neill in Jurassic World Dominion, a bold, timely, and breathtaking new adventure that spans the globe. Listen, there's no descriptions for these. Even on IMDb, it says plot withheld as a descriptor. So.
Look, as someone who hasn't actually watched Jurassic World 2, whatever it's called, that one, as far as I'm aware, by the end of that movie, dinosaurs break free. So, I mean, that's the plot of this movie. Dinosaurs break free, they're trying to stop them or something. There's your plot.
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was the second
There you go.
one.
That one.
But that's fine because, was kind of forgettable. But yeah, what do you think of this trailer?
I think it's a really good trailer. Double thumbs up. I think it looks exciting. I think the thing that I got sick of, and the reason, like, I liked Jurassic World fine. Like, I thought it was sort of, again, that very safe reintroduction to the franchise and everything. And then when I remember watching all the trailers, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and just being so disinterested because it just looked like the exact same shit again and again. And I was like, maybe I'll watch it, maybe I won't. And then I just never did. I literally never got around to it. So I think I'm really excited watching this one. Like, him on the motorbike, dinosaurs like chasing through the city, running across rooftops, dinosaurs chasing him. Fucking, like, there's just so much in here that's exciting to see. And obviously all the special effects being Lucasfilm and everything, it looks great. Or, like, it just looks good. I think all the dinosaurs mixing with the real world environment just look exciting. And I think that's the thing about the franchise is, like, it was the reason everyone loved the first one, other than it being, it's a really good story and characters are great that everyone loves, like Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum's character and Laura Dern's character. Like, everyone loves those characters, but also the thing about the first movie was everyone just loved the awe and the, like, seeing these dinosaurs and stuff. So, like, watching this trailer is just like, oh, that looks so cool, the dinosaur there and all that sort of stuff. And I loved dinosaurs as a kid. So, there was definitely a part of my childlike part of me watching this going, oh, that's so cool. Look at that dinosaur there and whatever else. It's not, just set in another fucking park or like another stupid area of just forest or, some shit I've seen a million times at this stage. So, I am keen to watch this, I would say. Yes. Double thumbs up.
All right. Yeah, I'll give it 2 thumbs up as well. I think, obviously, I really enjoy Jurassic World. It's like a fun, like, reimagining of that concept. It's like, what if they succeeded? And then the second one was like, hey, what if we see the aftermath? And like, what if people wanted to buy dinosaurs? That's a cool idea. And it really wasn't. But yeah, this one's kind of brought me back. Yeah, it seems like it's got a lot of interesting visuals. Like, obviously, you've got all the dinosaurs amongst the real world stuff, and like you've got the feathery dinosaurs, which everybody says are a thing. You've got the actual flying dinosaurs. I think like taking them out in an airplane, that's kind of interesting. And of course, bringing back the legacy cast. I mean, that was a cool moment because we all love seeing Laura Dern and Sam Neill. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. And I guess we can announce a second new series on the podcast. We'll be doing The Road to Jurassic World Fallen Order starting May 5th on podcast services. You'll be able to find that.
That will be on this podcast, not on a new unnamed podcast.
Yeah, it'll be on the What Do You Want to Watch podcast feed. Yeah, so you can check that out every Thursday leading up to the release of Jurassic World Dominion. All right, Dylan, the next trailer is Elvis, directed by Baz Luhrmann, starring Austin Butler, Tom Hanks, Helen Thompson, Richard Roxburgh, Olivia de-Jonge, Luke Bracey, Natasha Bassett, David Wenham, Kelvin Harrison Jr., Xavier Samuel, and Cody Smith McPhee. The film explores the life and music of Elvis Presley, seen through the prism of the complicated relationship with his enigmatic manager, Colonel Tom Parker. The story delves into the complex dynamic between Presley and Parker, spanning over 20 years from Presley's rise to fame to his unprecedented stardom against the backdrop of the evolving cultural landscape and loss of innocence in America. Central to that journey is one of the most significant and influential people in Elvis's life, Priscilla Presley. Dylan, how long do you think this movie's going to be?
How long do I think it's going to be? 2 hours, 47 minutes. Surely.
At least.
It does seem like it's covering his entire life, so that's a lot. I did like the trailer though. Double thumbs up. It's quite a long trailer, so
that's why I think it's a long movie.
Yeah. But double thumbs up. I think it's definitely, I'm not an Elvis fan or anything. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. But like, it just sort of, I had to listen to Elvis sometimes with like grandparents, whatever would put it on, I guess. But I think it looks beautiful, has these great performances, it looks like, and cast and everything. I think Austin Butler looks great here. This could potentially be his breakout sort of performance. The only things I've ever seen him in was, he was in a couple Kevin Smith films, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's sort of the last couple of things, the only things that I've seen him in, and they're all like sort of smaller parts. So this potentially is his breakout thing. Obviously, Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks. He'll get nominated for an Oscar for this either way. And this is Baz Luhrmann's first proper thing since fucking The Great Gatsby, which I only watched for the first time last year or the year before, whenever it was, and I thought it was okay. But Baz's like original, his Curtain trilogy or whatever you want to call it, you can find the box set. All that stuff's fantastic. So I've never watched Australia because I just thought it looked stupid, but I'm keen for this. I really love Baz's first couple films, 3 films, I guess, and he has a sense for music, and I mean that's what he started with, music and live dancers and just big theatrics, which obviously he does in The Great Gatsby as well to a degree. But I think doing a music biopic is sort of a good fit for him. So double thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up. I like the trailer. I think I don't know a lot about Elvis, obviously, other than the peripheral stuff, like you hear his music and different things, and he broke out. He was like a big star. All the girls went crazy for him. It was almost like Beatlemania to a certain degree. But then he got old and didn't take care of himself and died on a toilet, apparently. And people still believe he's alive.
Yeah, him and Tupac.
Still recording music somewhere.
He met Nixon once. They made a movie about it.
Yeah. I just think there's a lot here, and I don't know how they're going to fit it all in and make it make sense.
So I just looked it up out of interest. So there was a movie in 1979 called Elvis, in which Kurt Russell plays Elvis. That goes for 2 hours, 30 minutes. So that's a bar. 2 hours, 30.
Because they bring up a couple of different assassinations during the movie. I'm like, what? They're talking about this? They could be talking about the life of Elvis and that kind of stuff. I think Austin Butler looks good. His voice does sound a little weird in the first meeting with Tom Hanks. It sounds different, much higher pitched than the rest of the movie. My name's
Elvis Presley, baby.
Yeah. And then, Tom Hanks looks a little bit odd with the prosthetics and that kind of stuff. But other than that, I think it looks really good, and I have not watched any Baz Luhrmann films, so I might have to rectify that. Any. I've watched some of Romeo and Juliet. I haven't watched all of. I've watched some of Romeo and Juliet, but other than that, so I might have to rectify that before.
That's fucked as. Didn't you go to film school or something?
Yeah, but I don't have an answer.
I was like, what's your excuse?
I just didn't watch them. Elvis is coming to cinemas the 23rd of June. Last trailer for this week is Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, directed by Akiva Schaffer, starring John Mulaney, Andy Samberg, Will Arnett, Eric Bana, Keegan-Michael Key, Seth Rogen, J.K. Simmons, and Kiki Lane. Chip and Dale are living amongst cartoons and humans in modern-day Los Angeles, but their lives are quite different now. It's been decades since their successful television series was cancelled, and Chip has succumbed to a life of suburban domesticity as a insurance salesman. Dale, meanwhile, has had CGI surgery and works the nostalgia convention circuit, desperate to relive his glory days. When a former castmate mysteriously disappears, Chip and Dale must repair their broken friendship and take on their rescue ranger detective personas once again to save their friend's life. Dylan, what did you think of Rescue Rangers?
The TV show?
Yeah, sure. Let's start there.
It's good.
Do you remember much?
Yeah. I'm watching it. I don't remember plot lines or anything. I remember watching it and enjoying it when I was younger on the Disney Channel. So, yes. Chip and Dale, very helpful in the Kingdom Hearts games as well. Just shout out to them.
That's true.
Without them, you wouldn't get anyway. So, gummy ships.
I think that might be what I remember the most for. I don't remember a lot about the Chip and Dale TV series. I just remember the actual, just the still photos and that kind of stuff.
I had one of their movies on VHS. It wasn't, I don't know what it was though. It was a Chip and Dale thing. It was a movie. I don't remember what it was at all. And I used to watch that a lot. But, because, when I was young, it was you get one VHS and you'll just watch it a billion times until your birthday or whatever, until you got another one. This looks so bad, it's good, I feel, is the best way I'd sum this up. This is either going to be, hold on, let me read that. I feel like this could be either really bad or really good. The trailer is wild. I'm giving the trailer double thumbs up because I definitely was watching it being this is fucking crazy. But I'm going full in on just the commitment to the whole, what's happening? Oh, you got the CGI surgery. And just the fact that they look completely different for the, and they're going to look presumably different animation styles for the entire movie. I think that's funny. Seth Rogen at the end. Why not? I don't know. It's weird. It's in this new age thing of, what do you call it? Just, third
pop
wall,
culture references.
Fourth wall, cultural references.
Breaking,
fourth wall breaking, all that sort of stuff. But it's Chip and Dale, so why not? Even the way the trailer's presented as this Hollywood Reporter story about the lives of Chip and Dale and all this sort of thing is just sort of funny. What's his fuck from the Lonely Island's directing it, which is sort of
Kev Schaffer,
yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, I'm keen to watch it. I double thumbs up for the trailer because I was definitely intrigued the entire time. I think it was a good trailer. But my thoughts on the movie are, I definitely feel like it's either just going to be a complete mess or actually good. I don't feel like it can fall in the middle.
Yeah, this is a double thumbs up trailer for me as well. It won me over in a minute, 2 minutes 30 or whatever the length of the trailer is. Interesting concept to take up for this series, for the movie. Just the fun. It's a weird legacy sequel. It's definitely not a reboot because nobody wants reboots. Yeah, and it definitely feels like the Lonely Island guys have put all their thoughts and fingerprints all over it. It's crazy. Some of the animation characters that have cameos in this trailer. You've got Roger Rabbit. It's it's the perfect one because it's this is kind of a modern day Roger Rabbit, I guess, with all the other cameos.
And also a video podcast again, but I was just laughing my ass off that I bought this fucking Roger Rabbit 4K recently that I still haven't got around to watching. Well, I've seen Roger Rabbit, obviously, but watching the trailer and then Roger Rabbit's in, I was like, hey, I should probably, if there's a reason to justify me having purchased this Blu-ray.
So I can put up a review of Roger Rabbit when this comes out.
Yeah.
So it's when everybody wants to watch Roger Rabbit. There's a bunch of weird, dumb cameo jokes. It's funny that someone pointed out this is the most that Disney has used Indiana Jones property so far. As a 5-second gag. I think that the song they used through it is really it's
Wasn't
best
Megan
friends.
Thee Stallion? Wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Even though it's got swearing in it and they clearly edited it out. It's even though
best friend, she a real bad bitch. She got all that, that one. Yeah, it's that,
yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
That's really well put together with the trailer. Interesting to see where the plot goes because it seems to be some sort of amalgam monster thing that's hitting that convention that they're going to. Yeah, lots of little cameos. Like they've got Scrooge McDuck. They had Paula Abdul and the cat that was in her music video, and then they had the actual cats from Cats. Which
No Taylor Swift though.
No Taylor Swift, that we know of.
That we know of. That's true.
And yeah, that Seth Rogen joke made me laugh as well. Like the terrible early CGI characters.
So good though.
And it just looks exactly like Seth Rogen. Crazy. But yeah, 2 thumbs up for me. This is coming to Disney Plus on the 20th of May. So not that far away.
I know we don't have it on just because I just got reminded. But since we're talking about trailers, I want to shout out and like Disney and stuff. So Disney, Taylor Swift could be in a movie because they she did that doco and everything. Like do the live the concert or whatever, right?
Yeah,
that was Disney. Yeah, see, there's a relationship.
Folklore.
Yep. And that just reminded me as I was thinking that I just want to shout out the fact that they've got the Olivia Rodrigo thing coming to Disney Plus. I was like, so Disney's getting into a market of documentaries about young musicians and stuff like that. And you know what? I'm all about it.
Well, I mean, it makes sense seeing as she wouldn't have been a big star without her appearing in High School Musical, the musical. The TV series.
The TV
I think,
series.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize for not getting the right the first time. Yeah, so, it makes sense, working relationship and all that, so.
I'm keen for that as well, just as a random, side trailer.
I mean, if we're also shouting out trailers, we did do a trailer discussion of the new Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness trailer over on All New Marvelcast. So, if you want to hear our thoughts on that trailer, and we're disappointed we didn't talk about it here, it's over there. It's 2 thumbs up. We theorize about crazy shit. Dylan has a crazy theory about who's going to show up in this. Crazier than some of the stuff I've come with.
Just saying. There was a story this week that just today that added more fuel to the fire.
All right. Let's end this week's episode of What Do You Want to Watch with our What Do You Want to Watch top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
Of course, in the past the fortnight, unfortunately, acclaimed, well-loved director Ivan Reitman passed away on the 12th of February at the age of 75. So I thought for this episode, we would do our top 3 Ivan Reitman films. Of course, his catalogue is filled with classics and some probably maybe not so classics, but maybe films that certain people enjoy. Dylan, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is Stripes. I watched this when I was a kid, and I probably shouldn't have because it has nudity in it. And my pop let me watch it when we went down there as me and my brother, like for the weekend to sleep there sometimes, which we would because my parents wanted a break from us because we were horrible kids, I guess. It's about Bill Murray's character. I haven't watched it for a while, but it's about more or less it just boils down to Bill Murray and like John Candy and like I think someone else. Who is the third person? Hold on. I swear there's a third person. Maybe I'm dreaming. Anyway, the plot is like Bill Murray and his friends oh shit, our job sucks, so let's just join the army, which seems like a horrible idea, but so they join the army, and the entire movie is more or less them just fucking around on the army base. But this is probably my favorite John Candy movie, which I know it's probably not everyone's first pick, but I think it was because I watched it when I was younger, and that was the first time, as far as I'm aware, that was the first time I ever saw John Candy in anything. Like, this is before I've seen him in other things like Spaceballs or whatever the fuck else everyone thinks of for him. But I think he's great in this. Obviously, Bill Murray's great in this as well. Howard Ramis is in this. Maybe I guess that's the third person. It's very funny. But also, I definitely watched this when I was way too young. And then my pop also introduced me to things a bit too early. Like, he was like, oh, you like Bill Murray, hey? Here's Caddyshack and stuff like that. So, Stripes is my number 3.
My number 3 is his last film, Draft Day, starring Kevin Costner and Jeff Garner. It's a sports movie, but there's no sports. It follows the background of draft, the day of the NFL football draft. And the kind of behind the scenes things that happen on those kind of days, and there's picking and scheming, and like what it means for the players who are hoping to get drafted, for the coaches who are just at the will of the GM's picks and that kind of stuff, and kind of the massive deals that people make behind the scenes and that kind of stuff. I found it quite interesting. I think, Chadwick Boseman appears in this one and gives a fantastic, like, kind of eye-catching performance, and this is, like, before Black Panther and Civil War and all that. Might be the first place I saw him. He's really fantastic in this. I really enjoyed it. It's, like, lots of interesting behind-the-scenes sports stuff, so yeah. I would recommend this one, and it's my number 3. Dylan, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is what year is it released? 2001 film Evolution. So as far as I'm concerned, this is like the only other thing he did that was like sort of similar succession to Ghostbusters. So, cause it has like, it's like a group of four castmates, and like they're smart, but they're not really in fields for their, like, or one of them's only in the field for what they're actually doing. And then like there are the firefighters, and, they come out. But the plot of the movie, in case you haven't seen it, is aliens come for Earth, and, they're like the everyman but smart, and the government's doing terrible things, and they're not really helping, and they're trying to help out, and they're like it's this road adventure where the cast is David Duchovny, Orlando Jones, Julianne Moore, and Sean William Scott, which is a wild sort of like 4-person like main cast. I think it's quite funny. There's a bunch of other people in this that are really good as well. What the fuck is his name? Ethan Suplee, who obviously most people know from My Name's Earl or Chasing Amy or Mallrats or whatever. He's in this. He's obviously quite funny as well in this. Sarah Silverman's in this as well. I can't remember if she's in it. No, she has like a good, decent chunk in this film. But yeah, this used to be on. I remember watching this. I probably didn't watch this for the first time until, it would have been when it came out on home video or whatever. But then it was one of those movies I really, really liked when I was, I guess, I don't know what grade I would have been, but I really, really enjoyed it. And every time it was on TV, and they started putting it on TV quite a lot, like several times a year, and I'd watch it every time. And I'd set like, I used to have a VHS in my room, and I recorded it. So then I had a copy, because we only used to rent stuff or whatever. So I had a copy that I had to like fast forward through the ads or whatever, and I'd watch that as well. So, really enjoyed it. I haven't watched it in years and years and years. It could be terrible. However, it's a movie I have very fond memories of. So.
My number 2 is the best of the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ivan Reitman team ups, Kindergarten Cop. What proved that Arnold Schwarzenegger had comedic chops. He wasn't just a Terminator.
It's not a tumor.
Who's your daddy and what does he do? Yeah, super enjoyable, like little undercover adventure. And him just kind of relating with kids and dealing with kids despite being a super macho dude. Was quite amusing, and like I remember watching it several times as a kid. Super enjoying it, so yeah. Kindergarten Cop, number 2. Dylan, what's your number 1?
Number 1, obviously, is Ghostbusters. No, it's Ghostbusters. Come on. I don't really know how much has been said. Obviously, Ghostbusters is Ivan Reitman's legacy. Literally just had a film that more or less shoves that fact in everyone's face. It's a pop culture phenomenon that keeps living on. The first one holds up fantastically. The second one, not so much. But the first one is an old-time classic. Sort of one of the greatest films ever made in my mind. Like if I was to make a list of, Dylan's 100 greatest films ever made, like Ghostbusters is making that list somewhere. So, it's very funny. It's got this great sci-fi story. It fits into that great thing they were doing in the 80s, which was this ability to make a movie that was a comedy, but it was like parts that were like scary, and it was like action. And, it wasn't like, it's a movie. Like it's whatever we want it to be. It's not like fitted into this pigeonhole of genre or whatever. And, everyone's like super charismatic and, everything. So yeah, Ghostbusters, number 1. I'd be very surprised if you don't say the same. All right, now I will leave the podcast.
Yeah, Ghostbusters number 1. Fantastic film. Obviously, it leaves a massive legacy, and like will probably be continued till people will continue to enjoy Ghostbusters for the rest of time, or at least until as long as movies are a thing. Yeah, it's like such a perfectly put together movie. He's able to get great performances from the core cast and like cool CGI or like live. What were the Zool dogs? They were stop motion or something, wasn't it?
They were
I
stop
can't remember.
motion. Yeah,
Stop motion. So like all these different ways of bringing it all together. You got the giant marshmallow man at the end. Incredible. Like how could you not like Ghostbusters? Yeah, Ghostbusters #1. Let us know what your favorite Ivan Reitman films are by going to explosion.com/Twitter, letting us know on Twitter, or you can jump into Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or leave us 5 stars anywhere that lets you leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you like this episode, thoughts worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. So we can continue making new podcasts or new podcast series. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
the podcast name was Sam I Am and Frodo Go on an Adventure. Ooh, they have a sexy time. Actually.
It should be Let 'Em Kiss, this Lord of the Rings podcast.